Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the-right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who could change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn those earrings today. I like those earrings. Gabby has those awesome earrings. I need to ask her where she got those, but that's just what she would want me to do. I'll have Michaela ask her for me.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Yeah, but then Michaela will be like, why don't you just ask her yourself? That's just like Michaela.
Sarah, buckle up.
Michaela's such a great name. I wish I was called Michaela. There's like a dozen Sarahs in my class.
Hey, we're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I forget sometimes because my brain is like busy, you know? I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
Sometimes it can be tough to get through to your kids, but it's not impossible. Always make sure they're wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Remember, you have the keys, you have the power. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, like, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Colin Cowherd says that Aaron Rodgers isn't the Jets' savior. The Giants fans booed Daniel Jones during Week 1's loss, and the Cowboys make Dak Prescott the highest paid player in the NFL. And much, much more on a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the player $300 million. You better be sure that that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Jackson cried to the rest. No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, executive producer of the show, Mr. Aaron Fishman, and our Sports Minute, Tommy Scoops. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out all our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. A lot of birthdays. Give a shout out to Mr. Mikey, and happy birthday to him as he's getting older. All the people in the world are getting older, including yours truly. So happy birthday to Mikey and many different people that I forgot. So everybody on social media that sent me is their birthday. Happy birthday to you all. Speedy, what is up?
Well, did not have a very enjoyable start to the football season based on that New York Giants game. I know you didn't with the New York Jets either, but hope everybody has enjoyed their football season. I did well with their fantasy teams this week. I was split 2-2 down the middle and got unlucky with Christian McCaffrey, as many did.
I didn't split anything. I did lose two of my fantasy leagues, but hey, again, You're not always lucky in week one. You have to figure out certain players and how they're going to be used in the offenses and their defenses as we're playing all 22 where you need defenses. So
you did win, though.
Yes. I lost.
No, you won.
I did? I
did
thought I
win.
lost.
No, you were losing at the until Monday, and then you
All
won.
22?
Yeah, you
Oh,
won.
I didn't know. I thought I lost.
Nope.
There you go. I don't even know how to read it. So that's how new it is. But
yeah, it's a little delayed.
It's different. It's definitely very, very different. You have to, there's like 53 or 54 rounds. It was horrible because it took 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours to draft. Usually it takes an hour to draft your team, but now you have to draft defensive players, backup defensive players, backup offensive players, and backup quarterbacks. It's crazy, but it was fun. It's definitely been fun doing all these different drafts and fantasy drafts. I did lose in one of them. I got demolished because of Josh Allen, who just broke out in the second half of that game against Arizona. I mean, and we're going to go through every single game of this week one season, and there's a lot to get into, but we will get into the Giants and the Jets first, because obviously both teams looked absolutely horrible, and I know all you Giant fans are going to point their fingers at Daniel Jones. I'm going to tell you why it's not all Daniel Jones's fault, but hey, you know what? Everybody wants to find a way to blame somebody, but Daniel Jones is the quarterback. When you win as a quarterback, you're always getting the compliments and the credit, and when you lose, who are they blaming on? They're blaming it on the quarterback. So Daniel Jones has not done as well as everybody thought he was going to do in week number one, including yours truly. I thought he was going to be better, but hey, that's what happens. But yeah, at 8 o'clock, we'll be talking to ex-11-year MLB outfielder and founder of the Big League Approach. Jason Michaels will be joining us. So we're very excited to have Jason on the show. And at 9:30, we'll be talking to ex-11-year NFL tight end and Kentucky State assistant coach, Jason Dunn, will be joining us. So that'll be fun. He played for the Chiefs and the Eagles from 1996 to 2007. Long career in the NFL. And we'll have Jason on the show, tight end. If you don't remember Jason Dunn, well, then you don't know football. I do remember Jason. He was a pretty good football player. And if he played in the NFL as long as he has, he had something to say about what he did on the football field. There's no question about it. But let's get into it, because obviously if you're a Giant fan, you were not happy on Sunday. After Sunday's blowout against the Vikings, Daniel Jones was booed and heckled by Giant fans outside MetLife Stadium as he was walking out to his car. WFEN's Greg Giannotti says that the Giants need to talk replacing Daniel Jones if they want to go anywhere this season. Tiki Barber also said the clock is ticking on Daniel Jones and called his performance alarming in week one. Micah Parsons said the Giants should be under investigation for letting Saquon Barkley go to the Eagles, and predicts that Saquon will have or be the offensive player of the year. Dexter Lawrence says he doesn't respect the Giants fans booing the team during week one's loss. Kayvon Thibodeau also declined to answer any questions about the Giants' pass rush issues and the post-game and the press conferences. The Giants were the only team that scored under 10 points in week one, and one of two teams that didn't have an offensive touchdown. Okay, so let's get into the Daniel Jones situation. I understand fans don't like him. I understand fans didn't like the fact that Gettleman drafted him in the top 10. I understand it. And he really hasn't developed into the quarterback that everybody, including yours truly, believed he was going to. I also believe that Daniel Jones made a lot of mistakes in week one. He couldn't throw any accurate passes. He put the ball in places that the wide receivers could not get. The over-the-shoulder passes were horrible, horrendous. And Daniel Jones looked like he didn't even want to be on the field. He looked like he was out of sort if he was even on a football field. But that has something to do with coaching. Brian Daboll, for whatever anybody thinks he is, and I do believe in his career he's been a quarterback whisperer. He helped Josh Allen. He developed Josh Allen. He helped Josh Allen develop his new throwing motion. He has not done the same for Daniel Jones. And when they interviewed Brian Daboll after the game, and they asked him, did you have any thoughts on taking Daniel Jones out? He said, not a sort. When you look at a coach and you're trying to develop a quarterback and you're trying to bring this quarterback back to life, if you know he is not playing well and you believe, as you paid him $40 million a year 2 years ago, that he is your quarterback, he is your franchise quarterback, and he is just not playing well, why wouldn't you take him out? Why wouldn't you decide, hey, you know what? He's done for today. Let's build him up in after game one, get him back to practice, get him more confident so he's ready for week number 2. No, he kept Daniel Jones in. He made bad mistake after bad mistake throughout the game, and it cost the Giants. It no question did. But there was a lot of other reasons why the Giants didn't win. One of the main reasons is everybody keeps saying, well, Motor played well. Singletary played well. Singletary played well? Did anybody watch the game? Did anybody watch what Singletary did, Motor, do in the game? Don't lie to yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Because I know Giant fans are trying to find some excuse on why the Giants couldn't cut it on a field with Sam Darnold and a Minnesota Viking team that's rebuilding. And you're going to say, well, they have Justin Jefferson. They have, Jones. They're not rebuilding. They have a chance to win this year. Are we talking about the same Vikings team? Now, they could make the playoffs because their division is up for grabs. But honestly, what I saw in the game is Singletary, I think he had 10 carries for 30 yards?
And most of it was on one run.
That's not good. That's not Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley had 3 touchdowns in week 1 on Friday on a bad field in Brazil against a good defense. He ran over 100 yards. He had a catching touchdown. Again, we go back to Joe Shane, ladies and gentlemen. We go back to the GM who was scoping out and looking out in the offseason for offensive line help. Let's ask the offensive line how well they did. I don't know. How many times did Daniel Jones get sacked on Sunday? The answer? 5 times. Now, let me ask you guys a question. For all you Giant fans out there, if you think this offensive line played well, honestly, if you did, do you think that a good offensive line would have given up 5 sacks? The answer is no. This offensive line was not good. They paid Tunyon in the offseason, did they not? Did they give him a lot of money? Did they spend the money to bring him in to be their starting right tackle? The answer? They did. How did he play? Thomas, who I believe is the second best tackle in football. How did this line work with him being the anchor of that line? It's a big problem. And the reason why it's a big problem is because they have no running game. There is no running game. They have no offense. Stop it with you Giant fans believing that Slayton is the future of this organization after paying him in the offseason. This team has nothing. Believe me, Malik Neighbors is a good player. We don't know what he is, and we might never know what he is. You know why? Because there's nobody on the other side to help him. This team, this organization is in a loop. And I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not a loop that's growing. It's closing. It's a hole that they're digging deep. And if you're a Daniel Jones fan or you're a Daniel Jones hater, it is not only Daniel Jones's fault why this is collapsing. It's collapsing because the coaching staff is run by a dictator and Brian Daboll, who I liked when they hired him. I liked him. I did. But now watching different coaches decide, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this team and this organization. I'm walking away. Wink Martindale's coaching right now in college football as a defensive coordinator because he didn't want to stay there with the Giants. And this pass rush that everybody keeps talking about as they make a trade in the offseason to bring the Carolinas' best defensive player, their linebacker sensation, who they paid $140 million to in the offseason. What did he do in this game? What did he do in the game? How many tackles? How many sacks did he have in this game? And big mouth Kayvon Thibodeau, who loves to speak when he has 2 or 3 sacks in a game, or 1.5 sacks. When he has nothing, he doesn't show for nothing. He didn't even show up to the game. He might as well eat his oatmeal or his Fruity Pebbles or whatever the hell he eats during the morning. He might as well have stayed home. This team did not play. The only person on that defense that played well was Dexter Lawrence. As well, and him dancing over there in that picture, that says a lot about where this Giants defense is going. They might as well played in the disco era. It's really pathetic. And all the Giant fans could do on social media is blame Daniel Jones. It's Daniel Jones' fault. He stinks. What am I doing as a Giant fan sitting here and believing that I have a chance to win and maybe make the playoffs? And I'm not a Giant fan, but that's what Giant fans are thinking in their head. Hey, we got a chance. Hey, we got Malik Neighbors. We don't even know what Malik Neighbors is going to be because they didn't even add any weapons to help him. The problem right now lies in their schedule. Week 2, they got the Commanders. They have a chance to beat the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is a good young quarterback, but he's young. If this defense does not show up in week 2, and they can't find a running game in week 2, the Giants are going to have a very, very, very long season. And if you're a Giant fan, as I have been a Jet fan my whole life, and watching garbage football after garbage football after garbage football every single season, blaming this quarterback, blaming that quarterback, blaming this guy, blaming that guy, I'm going to tell you this right now. If you don't stop blaming one guy and you don't realize it's a team game, then you don't know football.
Nope, you don't. And Brian Dable is the biggest one to blame because I think his play calling was even uncharacteristically conservative too. Like 2 years ago when he won Coach of the Year, this was a very similar level, if not worse, receiving core collectively. And they were able to get motion. They were able to do a lot of creative things to make the Giants offense work. Now, obviously, Saquon Barkley was there and he was still the bulk of it, but still, like, the concepts were there. This seemed so dry in this game. Like, they barely were throwing downfield. They were barely throwing complicated routes, and that's on Brian Dable. Now, Daniel Jones didn't play well. I think he had a lot of the tendencies he did his rookie year and his second year where he was stepping into pressure too much. I think probably of those 5 sacks, probably half of them were on him because he stepped forward or he stepped to the side into the rush more than he should. But
it was collapsing. What do you want him to do? You want him to step backwards so he loses yards? I mean, come on. What do you want him to do?
And Devin Singletary.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, Devin Singletary. I know he had 37 yards. A lot of that, I think half of that was on that one big run in the third quarter. He was
horrible.
He was probably the worst offensive player in that game when you're judging like the lack of vision that he had. I think there were some offensive linemen that were giving him good leads and he was going back into the other area. It seemed like I was watching a rookie running back that had no vision. It seemed like, especially on the inside. And Andrew Thomas, you mentioned him. I think he played well outside of one time he got beat by Turner. The rest of the line played okay, like well enough for them Singletary to be able to run. He wasn't seeing the holes very well. And the defense, that's especially the pass rush. Kayvon Thibodeau, like, takes some accountability for that. They were, besides Lawrence, they were horrible in that game. I know the Vikings O-line is good, but like there might be a top 10 offensive line, fine. But you're brought in Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau is supposed to be, this is year 3 natural development year for you. And they got barely any pressure on Sam Darnold. He had all day to throw. And Aaron Jones ran the ball very well in a Vikings debut in a complicated scheme. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau has issues stopping the run last year and still had those issues again. There weren't a lot of good individuals on defense. There were a couple, but there was not enough to generate a good pass rush. And the offense, forget about it. I think the O-line played probably well enough from what they were last year, but like the skill players are just god awful.
again, and I said Tunyon. I mean, John Runyon. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Robert Tunyon, but John Runyon, he didn't play as well as what they expected him to play, paying him all that money in the offseason. So, again, you say you thought that the offensive line played better than you think. I don't think what I saw in the game, and everybody's going to blame, obviously, Daniel Jones. They're going to blame him because obviously he's the quarterback and he just didn't show up to the game. He really didn't. I don't know what was going on in his head, but it seems like Daniel Jones's game has nothing to do with football right now. Maybe it's hanging out with Mrs. K over there. I don't know, because everybody knows how much I love her. And maybe it's his new relationship over there that everybody keeps talking about. I have no idea what it is, but I really believe that Daniel Jones needs to do some soul searching. He needs to search. He needs to figure out who he is as a quarterback and what he needs to do this year to turn everybody's thoughts of him as a football player back his way and say, oh, this guy's the franchise quarterback. Let's go in the offseason. Let's go bring in a hunter. Let's go bring in another weapon to help him out and help Malik Neighbors out. Because to me, I know everybody wants to blame just Daniel Jones. And maybe it's time for Daniel Jones to go somewhere else. It worked for Ryan Tannehill for a little while. Maybe it's best that maybe Daniel Jones doesn't belong here in New York and maybe he just wait out his welcome. But we don't know what he is because the Giants didn't do him right. They didn't do anything fair in his way, as far as I'm concerned, in the offseason, letting Saquon Barkley go. And I feel that they didn't give him any other weapons besides Malik Neighbors. They have brought nothing to the table to help this kid develop into the quarterback they thought he was going to be. All they did was pay him $40 million, which everybody's been crying about since they gave it to him.
All right, well, I'm going to bring Fish in because he was shaking his head about, I think, about the Daniel Jones comments.
All right. I will take the counterpoint of every other Giants fan that is blaming this on Daniel Jones. I will say that this is mostly Daniel Jones's fault. The offensive line was uneven. The tackles played well, according to PFF, in our all 22 league, where that's actually how they're scored. They actually were both above average, and Thomas had a decent game. Especially Thomas. He was the highest rated Giant with a 70-something, which isn't the top marks in all 22, by the way. That just tells you who the best player was. There were a lot of bad players. Van Roden is really bad at football, it turns out. He is really terrible.
He played for the Jets. I mean, that was enough said. I mean, how long did he last over there with the New York Jets?
We couldn't rebirth him
Van
like we did
Roden?
with Jason Pinnock.
Long Island native. Oh, man, he stinks. He shouldn't be playing on this Giant team. That offensive line, I'm sorry. I don't care what PFF says. My eye test tells me that offensive line looked like crap. And it doesn't mean anything on what. And I know you're an offensive lineman. You're a coach. You understand how the offensive line needs to work in sync, and it has to work together. That team, that offensive line, that whole 56-man roster, including the coaching staff on the side, didn't know how to work together. I believe that this is a mark for trouble. I'm just saying. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Okay. No, please, because this is real emotional for me. You're going to have to cut me off at times because this was worse than last year's 40-0 beatdown from Dallas. And I had money on that I brought up on the show.
I feel bad for you.
This was really terrible. Because at least last year we had hope. We had the playoffs coming off. It still felt good about the team. Now I see a quarterback who reminds me of David Carr. Not Derek Carr. David Carr, when he got the yips from getting sacked 70 times every year in Houston, and then ended up being a shell of himself and could not play the position anymore. Daniel Jones ran into half of those sacks. It was really on him. Those pockets did not collapse. He ran where you're not supposed to run. A halfway decent quarterback doesn't get touched in those pockets. That's number one. Number two, Wan'Dale Robinson had one of the top rated games for the Giants in this game. He turned out to be a very good player. Someone's sleeper that may have been mentioned on this show.
Did you start him this week, Fish?
Just remember what defense he played against this week. Could you stop?
Yeah.
Maybe if you started one down,
Minnesota's defense.
You could have beaten John Daigle.
I'll say that, yeah, well, I should have beat him. That's a whole nother story. Christian McCaffrey screwed me.
I lost Nakua for 4 weeks. I mean, that's not good. That's a big loss for me. I mean, especially in the all-22 when the wide receiver is the second most important player on the field. So,
yeah. If I had a regular CMC game, I won that week, but whatever. It's all good.
I didn't even know I won. I didn't even know I won. So it just shows you where I am when it comes to all 22.
It's a weird league. I think the bigger, you mentioned Shane, and you got to really put the blame on Shane here a little bit. Hyatt had like a 30-something rating in this game. They didn't really bring him on the field. They don't think much of him right now. Theo Johnson was trash when he was out there, except for the one catch he had over the middle. If you're getting a 40 in the overall as a tight end and you made a good play in the pass game, you must be one of the worst blockers ever. So that's what's going on right now with the Giants. Is they're just not they're really uneven team blocking. Except this is still the best blocking performance they've had in over a calendar year because they were so bad last year with Bobby Johnson that this is actually a big step up. It's crazy to say that, but I thought the line was significantly better, which made it even worse that Daniel Jones played the way he did. That interception, and I'm going to play it again, where he's throwing a screen pass. It's not even a screen. It's just a swing. And you need to, first off, I don't think he set the correct protection. In that protection, the tackle should not be dropping back. He should be jump setting him so he can get the ball out without the guy in his face. That's something that's done at all levels. I don't really understand how this could happen because that's on the quarterback to set that protection. This play that we're showing right here, there's no way that should have ever happened. It's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment. Look at the right tackle. He's just kicking back like it's a deep pass. That's on the quarterback. These are the little things. Yeah, take his helmet off and go, what happened there? Yeah, it was you, dummy. It was you. We're in quads. They know you're going that way. What are you doing? Just really bad.
Again, everybody's going to point their finger at Daniel Jones, and he made mistakes. Everybody's going to be the blame of this, but everybody's going to point their fingers on just him. This had to do with the team. The team didn't play well. I don't want to hear about Wan'Dale Robinson and what he did in that game because Wan'Dale Robinson played against a bad defense. That's not a good defense. That's an okay defense. That wasn't supposed to be a 28-6 win by Minnesota. It's the problem is they have no offensive weapons. They've got nothing. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As bad as the Jets look, they didn't look anywhere as close. And they played the 49ers. This is the Minnesota Vikings. This is Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, it's the best game he ever played in New York.
This isn't Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of Minnesota Viking fans were very happy he was gone. But hey, and he didn't play very well with Atlanta in his first game.
It was horrible.
That was one game, okay? And that was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the best defenses in the league. So I know everybody wants to point their fingers at him. I expect him to do better. And Michael Penix is not coming in this season. For all you weirdos out there that think Michael Penix is going to step on the field, the only way he steps on the field is if Kirk Cousins gets hurt. That's the only way you see Michael Penix this year. Stop it, guys. Stop with this Michael Penix crap. And that goes for you too, Keith. And I know that's what you think. Okay? Now, to finish up here and speak what I really feel about what I saw with the Giants. Everybody is going to blame the quarterback. It's always the quarterback. But you guys have to look at the big picture here. Who coached this quarterback? Who set this quarterback to fail? Who was the GM of the team in the offseason saying that we have a good roster? I know a lot of Giant fans thought that this roster was good enough to win at least 8 games. What I saw on Sunday, this team is lucky to win 4. Maybe even less. You can't sit here right now and tell me, and I don't want to hear about this quarterback and that quarterback and who you want to. If you think Drew Lock is going to come in and light the scoreboard on fire, you guys are blind. You're on drugs. I love to look at Drew Lock's woman. I mean, that's something to look at. I get a chance to look at that every single day of my life. I would love to be Drew Lock. But as far as stepping on a football field and dealing with the booze and all the Giant fans telling you suck and give me $1 million when he's walking to his car, tells me one thing about the Giant fans. They don't even know what they're watching. It is pathetic. Giant fans should be behind their team, not sticking it to their quarterback. If I was the quarterback of the team, and by the way, that goes for all the Jet fans, what they did to Zach Wilson. Now, I am not a Zach Wilson lover, and we all know Zach Wilson sucked. He blows, okay? He stinks. He shouldn't even be in the NFL. He should be screwing 50-year-old women at picnics. That's what he should be doing. Nobody cares about Zach Wilson anymore. Him and his pretty boy looks and his new fiance, which she looks pretty damn good, by the way. Hey, but nevertheless, I don't care. The fact is what they did to Zach Wilson. The fans did to Zach Wilson when he was failing. Instead of being behind him as as a fan, you threw him to the wolves. And that, my friends, and for all you fans out there that are going to sit there and tell me that you're the biggest Jet and Giant fan, it only tells me one thing. You guys are morons. You don't know what you're watching, and you think that by putting your quarterback into place, including the Cowboy fans, busting on Dak Prescott taking $60 million, why would you be busting on probably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? Why? Because he can't win in the playoffs? There's probably 4 quarterbacks right now that can win in the playoffs. It is ridiculous. Stop it for you Cowboy fans. $60 million, you don't think nobody's worth that money. But if you're going to tell me right now Dak Prescott being the runner-up for the MVP was not worth $60 million, you don't know football. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of all you fans out there. You don't know crap. Yeah, you heard it. You Cowboy fans, you Giant fans, you Jet fans, and I'm a Jet fan. Boy, oh boy, I hate being one. But I'm not going to sit here today and tell you guys right now, as a Jet fan, that I'm happy to be one. But I am not, I repeat, I am not going to go after Aaron Rodgers when he only had 20 minutes on the field to really build rhythm. That had nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers, except the defense. And don't worry, I'm going to get into the whole Jets debacle on friggin' Monday Night Football. How pathetic. I am not going to sit here today, tomorrow, or the next day and make excuses for my team. What I will do is tell all the fans, open your goddamn eyes. Watch the game of football, understand the game, and stop blaming one player on your debacle of a game. Because Kayvon Thibodeau didn't show up. That defense didn't show up. That offense didn't show up. And I don't want to hear about Wan'Dale Robinson and Motor Singletary. Because the only thing he had a motor on, it broke down. That motor broke down. 10 carries, 37 yards. The motor is done. It's a weed whacker. Pot, 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 pot. It just doesn't cut anything. Speedy, you know all about cutting things, right?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't cut anything? You don't cut the cheese?
I might.
You do?
I might.
Have you ever cut your cheese on the show?
Maybe. I don't know.
I didn't smell it, so that's a good thing. Anyways, yeah, so if you're a Giant fan, I understand you're upset about Daniel Jones. I understand that you're upset of this a debacle of week one. It's going to start worrying you and everybody else out there if they don't show up against the Commanders. I think they're better than the Commanders. I think they should beat the Commanders. But if Daniel Jones shows up and he throws 280 yards and no interceptions and throws 2 touchdowns and runs in a touchdown, Giant fans are still going to pick on him because if the Giants don't show up defensively, it's Daniel Jones' fault. Ridiculous. Stupidity. It's all football. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to ex-11-year MLB outfielder and founder of the Big League Approach, Jason Michaels. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, everyone knows I am Tommy Scoops bringing you guys the Loudmouth Sports Minute. And starting off with some NFL, Dolphins running back Devon Achane and Raheem Mostert did not practice today as the running backs are dealing with an ankle and chest injury sustained in Sunday's win against the Jaguars, and it is unclear if they're expected to miss time. In other NFL news, Buccaneers are signing cornerback Keenan Isaac, adding to the depth chart for the banged-up secondary. It is also announced that cornerback Bryce Hall was actually carted off Sunday. The game is going to be placed on IR. Lastly, over in the NBA, the Lakers actually announced that they are going to honor Jerry West this upcoming season. The Lakers will be donning the number 44 band on their jerseys for Lakers legend Jerry West, who passed away this past summer. Now going into Scoops' scores over in the MLB right now, the Royals have a 2-0 lead over the Yankees at the bottom of the 4th, while the Tigers have a 5-0 lead over the Rockies at the bottom of the 6th. The Pirates with a 2-0 lead over the Marlins, while the Phillies have a 4-3 lead over the Rays at the bottom of the 5th. At the top of the 5th right now, the Braves have an 8-0 lead over the Nationals, while the Mets and Blue Jays are currently tied with 1 apiece. Right now, the Orioles have a 3-0 lead over the Red Sox, while the Angels and Twins are just starting off with 0 on the board. The Guardians have a 1-0 lead over the White Sox, while the Reds and Cardinals are currently tied at 0 runs apiece. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now. I'm going to kick it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the crazy, the original, the nutty sports loudmouth. I am the loudmouth. I am crazy. I'm losing my mind as a New York fan. I think I'm going to throw up. I don't know what it is. But anyways, I'm Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Oh, I almost said Kong, you know. I should be King Kong. I probably have a better chance of winning a football game as King Kong than any of the Jets and the Giants. So, I mean, if Speedy, what do you think King Kong would have done in that game against San Francisco?
Block better than Evan Neal.
We would need an offensive line. We just put Kong in front of him and have Breece Hall run right through him. There you go. Anyways, I'm sure this guy doesn't care about that. We are now talking to ex-11-year MLB outfielder and founder of the Big League Approach, Jason Michaels. Jason, what's up, buddy?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Errol.
Well, I'm happy to have you on. You had a very long career, 11 years in the major leagues, and from 2001 to 2011, playing for the Phillies, the Guardians, the Astros, the Pirates. It's a great career, and anybody that plays in the major leagues that long, it says a lot about you as an athlete and just your work ethic. So I do want to get into this season with the Philadelphia Phillies. They've been up and down. In the beginning of this season, they were the hottest team in baseball. Nobody ever thought they were going to get as hot as they were. They were as hot as anybody. And then all of a sudden, after the All-Star break, a lot of mistakes, injuries. Some people say that Trey Turner and Bryce Harper are not getting along in the locker room. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you have more inside sources than we do. What happened?
It's just the way the season goes. It's such a long grind, you know, 162 game season. You got ups and downs. The Phillies, they look really good. They really do. And I always tell everybody, I said, you can never count out the Phillies, especially teams that have to go in and play the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. That's a tough place to play. I've been there as a home player, and also been there as a away player, and it's a tough place to play. And you know, the fans really have the backs really well there in Philly. So I mean, I really, really enjoyed my time in Philly. I was a teammate of Bryce Harper's, and you know, right before he made the big leagues, he got called up with the Nationals. I got a few ex-players around, or ex-teammates that are still playing.
Yeah, very good.
By the way, and I'm a Buccaneers fan, so if you need a little scouting report on the Commanders.
No, give Errol a scouting report on how good of a coach Todd Bowles is.
You know, well, it's just interesting about coaches, okay, and especially at the high level. I don't put too much stock in the coaches as I do the leaders of the team. Like, to me, the coaches are only as good as the leaders of the team. Like, if you got, you know, the captain of the defense, captain of the offense, if you don't have good leaders on the team, it's going to be tough. I'll tell you right now. That doesn't matter what sport.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, but going back to you were saying you played with Bryce Harper. Do you have any good stories of Bryce Harper when he was a youngster?
There was one. So Bryce was 19. So he was in AAA with the Nationals. I was on my way out. I mean, I think maybe 2 weeks after he got called up, I think I ended up going to the coach's locker room and becoming a coach, and you know, being done with my playing career. But well, anyways, I was hitting behind Bryce this one game, and he was leading off the inning. He hits a routine ground ball to the left fielder, and you know, the left fielder didn't have to go left or right, and Bryce busted it out of the box and made a double. Got a double out of it. And I wanted to go out there and hug him, just because you don't see that kind of effort like that, especially, you know, especially from a younger player. And I really, really appreciated that. And, you know, he's been having a great career. Just like want him to keep going and do what he's doing. I mean, he's really doing well.
There's no question that he's doing well. He's one of the best hitters. He's one of the faces of baseball. When we speak about Aaron Judge and Ohtani, I mean, you could put Bryce Harper right up there with them.
Yeah.
I mean, he has been a fantastic Samaritan. And honestly, what baseball is trying to get that all-American look, that all-American guy, Bryce Harper is that guy. Remember, he was looked at when he was a teen as the next Mickey Mantle. Everybody was like comparing him to Mickey Mantle. His father grew up a Mickey Mantle fan. He grew up, he didn't even play. I mean, he wasn't even alive when Mickey Mantle played. And he got a chance to watch different videos. And his father always sat him in front of a television watching Mickey Mantle, the way he swang, the way he moved his feet, the way he played the field. I mean, Bryce Harper mimicked one of the greatest baseball players, probably the greatest switch hitter to ever play the game. No question that he did.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. I mean, you're right. He's right up there, one of the faces of baseball, with Shohei, and you got Aaron Judge. It's good to see that around, because baseball does need it. Football needs it. NHL needs it. Basketball needs it. You got to have these faces.
And that's another thing. We go through the baseball and we're trying to figure out, like, who's the next up and coming star. And everybody says, well, Shohei Ohtani's the guy, Judge and Bryce Harper. We mentioned that. But there's a guy right now in Kansas City, in Witt, who has had a sensational year. I believe, is the best shortstop right now in baseball. He's come out of, and I'm not saying he's come out of nowhere, but he's really developed into being that Derek Jeter-like type of player. And remember, everybody said that, if Derek Jeter if he ever got drafted by Kansas City, he would have never been Derek Jeter. He was Derek Jeter because he played for the Yankees. I disagree. Baseball is different now. It's not about the big cities. It's all about the superstardom and fantasy sports. It's what sticks out to these fans now. And if you're a superstar player batting 332 or 335 all season long, hit close to 25 home runs, and you're putting up power numbers, and you're probably the best defensive player at your position, well, you stand out. And that's why you could be the next year Derek Jeter, but just not on a Yankee uniform. What are your thoughts to these up-and-coming stars that are really developing in different cities that you wouldn't expect?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you got Bobby Witt, and I completely agree with you. Bobby Witt he's really having a fantastic year. What a great player, great makeup. He's doing all the little things as well, too. And he could develop into that Derek Jeter type status, that leader status. Jackson Merrill with the Padres as well, too. Just another really good young player. And it's exciting to see that, as we do with any sport, but it's really exciting to see that. Absolutely.
How about the Pirate pitchers? Look at what they're doing right now. I mean, you're looking at two of probably the best young pitchers in baseball, and the Pirates have control of them for the next 6 to 7 years. Whatever they decide to do with them, which we all know what they usually do, they trade them away. But they didn't do that to Reynolds. They decided to keep Brian Reynolds as well as they should. I mean, this team has a chance to be one of the better young teams in baseball if they keep this team intact.
Absolutely. What a great place to play, too. In Pittsburgh. That was, I mean, what a great fan base. They really share a parking lot with the Steelers, and just an awesome place to play. It really is. I mean, I remember, watching Skeens in college, the year before, and I'm going, this is by far the most major league ready player I've ever seen. And I've been in baseball for a long time. And, but yeah, they got an exciting group over there. Derek Shelton, the manager, was my hitting coach in Cleveland, which I will call the Indians, not the Guardians. I can't do it. I think it's a lot of respect. So, but yeah, they just have a good team, and I like Derek Shelton leading that team as being the coach over there. But yeah, you're right. They do have an exciting team over there.
So one guy that's been on our show a couple of times has been Jabba Chamberlain, who you played against in the playoffs in the infamous Mites game, as he calls it. And he blamed himself for the way he struggled with that. What was the experience like from your standpoint, facing him and playing in that game with Cleveland?
Jabba, he was It was so weird because if it wasn't for those flies on the mound, I mean, he was throwing the ball well. I mean, and it just messed him up or something or whatever. It got him out of his rhythm, and which really helped out. And we had a great team that year, and we ended up actually going and beating the Yankees that year in the ALCS, or DS.
Don't
sorry.
remind
And then
me.
we had to,
Don't
and then we
remind me.
lost to the Red Sox, who ended up beating, or who won the World Series that year with against the Rockies. But yeah, we had a great year that year, and he was throwing the ball so well, and it was weird how it all worked out. It's hard for me to describe, but he was just throwing the ball really well, and then.
He's speechless over Java.
Yeah.
We got to get Java on. We got to ask him his thoughts too. No, we already know what his thoughts are. We are talking to ex-11-year MLB outfielder and founder of the Big League Approach, Jason Michaels. He's been gracious to join us on the show. He's a busy guy. He's doing big things, and his career being over, he's still growing and trying to build a product and a product that is growing sensationally because of his expertise in the game of baseball. It's not easy to have an 11-year career as a professional athlete. I don't care what anybody says. As a football player, as a baseball player, if you can be or you can play in the major leagues for 11 years in the big leagues, it says a lot about you as a talent, as a player, as an athlete. And it takes a lot to put in the time and the effort to stay up there in the big leagues. It's so funny when you look at, different players, and you mentioned you're a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, and Baker Mayfield was pretty much thrown to the Wolves. He went from the Browns giving up on him. Then he went to the Rams. He took over from Matthew Stafford because he gets hurt after winning a Super Bowl. He didn't play well over there. And then another team took a chance with Baker Mayfield, and he goes to Tampa. And he barely made the team. Everybody was thinking that he wasn't going to make the team. And then Canales really, redeveloped him, kind of showed him the ropes, showed him how to be a quarterback in the NFL. And look what he did. I mean, even this week, he threw 285 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was unbelievable, incredible in his game number 1, in week number 1 of the season. He's really shown himself to be a good quarterback in the NFL. When you look at the game of baseball and you've seen so many players just not develop from one team to another and then kind of lose confidence and never get a chance to get back up there. And then you see players that don't get called up for 4 or 5 years and finally get a second chance and then really show what they can do on a baseball field. Aaron Judge, okay? I don't know if anybody knows this. The Yankees drafted Aaron Judge. He was 18 years old when they drafted him. They didn't call him up until he was 24 years old. 24 years old. That means he was 6 years in the minors. Nobody thought he was going to be a developmental player like he was, and then turned into the player that he is today as one of the best hitters in baseball, if not the best hitter in baseball. When you see the game and the way things happen the way they do, what is the transition? What changes these players? What do these players need to get a chance to be called up again and become successful in the majors?
I tell you what, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's confidence. It really is. The game of baseball is so unique. It's so much different, really, than a lot of the sports because you're dealing with negative results every day. Every day. And I've played with and against guys that just superstar talent. Their measurables are off the charts, everything, but they couldn't put it together up here. That's the difference between major leaguers and everybody else, is that those negative results that happen every time you get on that field, they're able to overcome and not let those negative results bring them down. Bottom line. And that's what I do with the big league approach. A lot of what I do is teaching these guys what's in between their ears. I mean, a lot of these guys can hit, same with any sport, but like as far as with baseball, there's so many talented guys out there. And I tell these younger, the high school, college kids that I work with, I say, guys, I can walk down the street, I can find somebody, and I can, they pretty much have some good hand-eye coordination. Not everybody, but I mean, I'm trying to make a point is that there's a lot of talent out there, and what's going to separate you from everybody else is this up here. Are you going to let those negative results that happen every time you get on that field, is it going to bring you down, or are you able to throw them in the trash and continue to move on? That's the difference. between major leaguers and everybody else.
Yeah, so you also played with another ex-Yankee. We were talking about Aaron Judge before, but CC Sabathia, who you played with in Cleveland as well. I believe, I forget if you won a Cy Young that year when you were there or a little before that. But,
yes.
what was he like?
He did. CC was a number one. And the year he won, so 2007, he won his Cy Young. And the guy that came in second was our number 2 pitcher, a guy named Fausto Carmona.
Oh, yeah.
Becoming Roberto Hernandez. I don't know. It was what was going on. I think CC's ended the year with a 2.06 ERA. I think something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Fausto Carmona had a 2.08, and he threw one pitch. One pitch. It was amazing. I mean, it was really fun to watching these guys compete. But yeah, CC is he's a number one. I mean, he's a team that you build your pitchers around. Period.
As everybody knows, we were talking to ex-11-year MLB outfielder and founder of the Big League Approach, Jason Michaels. He's doing big things, helping young kids develop their skills on a baseball field. It's pretty impressive for a guy that was successful in the major leagues as long as he was. And what he does for the game of baseball is help these young kids develop and hopefully eventually get a chance to step on a Major League Baseball field, which is something of a dream for these young kids. It's not easy to do that, and that's what makes it so very impressive. You know, Jason, you are a Taurus. I am a Taurus. You were born May 4th. I was born April 29th. Us Tauruses are very stubborn. We're stubborn. We have our own opinion towards everything in the world. I mean, obviously, we have a president election coming up. That's a whole nother world, and we're not going to get into that because we're not here debating that. Let them debate tonight. That'll be fun. And we're not going to talk about that, by the way, Fish, so don't put that up there. But, I mean, when you look at the stubbornness of certain people in the major leagues, and one of them, who I can't stand, and that's Rob Manfred, who's very stubborn, does things that, turn me off, make me sick to my stomach. These new rules, these new passageways of changing the game of baseball for the better. Meanwhile, if it's not broke, don't fix it. That's what I believe. But you know what? Rob Manfred thinks he's smarter than the average bear, and maybe he should talk to Yogi. Maybe he should talk to somebody else. What is going on in this man's head? I mean, as a baseball player that is not in the major leagues, and you see what this game is transitioning to, do you like what's going on in baseball? Do you enjoy what this moron is doing to the game of baseball?
I do not. I was telling somebody the other day that I think it was my last year in Houston, 2011. And one of the younger guys came up to me and says, "Hey, man, why are you so grumpy?" And I'm not really a grumpy guy. And he happened to catch me in the right time. I said, if you're fortunate enough to play as long as I have, I said, you start seeing stuff that just pisses you off, stuff that's out of your control. And really that's what it is. But because what it is, it comes down to business. It's a business. Bottom line is we got to get more people to watch the game. We got to get more fans in the stands. Bottom line. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. Trying to speed up the game because everybody's attention span is freaking whacked. That's why, everybody, like, I can only pay attention for 30 minutes and that's it. And so how do we shorten that time? I mean, baseball is a slow game. It's the only game that doesn't have a clock. And now you're putting a clock on this game, and then pitchers start complaining that, like they're your arm's starting to hurt where they take the sticky stuff away. I didn't mind the sticky stuff, to be honest with you, because I want them to control the ball. I don't want that ball at my head or, in the ribs. It hurts, and not to say that some of them, it does get away from them, but, not having a rubbed up ball or being able to have some spider tack, which it's fine with me. But yeah, some of these rules, I mean, you telling me how many times I can pick over where I can, if I want to play the shift and put everybody in left field, I can't do that. I mean, just because that would be me being a dumbass, but still, it doesn't matter. They don't tell me where I can play my players. So the bigger bases. Now you start messing around with not legacies, but
accolades.
Yeah, like now.
And by the way, they're not bases; they're pizza boxes. Okay, let's be honest. If I want to eat pizza, I'll just go to a pizzeria. I don't want to see it on a damn baseball field. Okay, and that's you know what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And I've said this to a lot of ex-baseball players that have been on this show. I want to put duct tape on Rob Manfred's face, and I want to tie him to a tree with his hands. I don't want to choke him to death. And I want to put a mask on and spin him around and then take one of those baseball bats and beat him with it. And maybe that'll open, maybe some candy will fall out of his pockets. Hopefully they do. Maybe I get something out of her, maybe money. I like a little bit of money. But if I can't get any of the money he's making from wherever he is stealing it from, I would love to just beat him up and wake this man up, because he is not helping the game of baseball. If anything, he's hurting the game of baseball. And for these young kids that are growing up in Colombia or Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, and they want to be the next Alex Rodriguez, they want to be the next David Ortiz, or they want to be the next Derek Jeter, or they want to be the next CC Sabathia, or whoever you want to call it. Why would they want to play baseball when it is there's too many rules, there's too many thoughts of the way the game is changing, where you're saying, you know what, I'd rather play soccer. There's more money in that if I play in Europe, or I'd rather play football. You know why? Because I get to beat the hell out of somebody and actually do it the way I want to do it. And even that game is changing too. That's a whole nother story. So, I mean, if I was an athlete right now, it wouldn't be baseball I'd be picking. When you're trying to you're trying to tell kids, go play baseball. You can make more money. And you could become, you could be a 20-year vet and make even more money doing it. But why would I want to go there if I have a pitching clock, or I'm playing on bases that look like pizza boxes, or fans don't even show up to the games until the 4th or 5th inning? That is a problem right now in baseball.
And that's the thing. It's all about business. It's a $1 billion industry, multi-billion-dollar industry.
Give me some of that money, baby.
I mean, I live here in Tampa, so I'm around the Rays a lot, and seeing what they do right here, and you got to hand it to the Rays a little bit, because they find a way to figure it out to get to that postseason, and to do what they have. I mean, you can never question. I can't question any of the trades that the Rays have made. I really can't. But it comes back. It's just a business, and I'm more of a purist. I mean, I like the old school. I came up. I think I feel like I came up the old school way a little bit. It was like, hey, rookie, shut your mouth. You run hard, and you show up first. Everything. You don't have that. You don't have enough. And what I think too here is you don't have enough ex-big leaguers that are teaching the guys, this is the way it is. This is the way that we did it before. This is the way it is. I think there's a lack of respect that's missing in this game. I'm all for celebrations, but you got to keep it in respect. You got to keep it respectful, both sides.
Before we let you go, I want the fans to know what your organization is doing right now, and how they can find your organization out in Tampa. I'm actually going down to Tampa this week. I'm leaving on Thursday. I'm heading down there. Maybe I'll stop by and get a chance to see what you are doing down there. I wouldn't mind doing that. I think it's sensational what you're doing, and again, if you're located down there, my girlfriend's father lives 40 minutes out of Tampa. I'll drive over there and check it out. I would love to see what you're doing right now.
Yeah. So thank you. Yeah. The name of my company is called The Big League Approach, www.thebigleagueapproach.com. So I've been working with kids, really young kids, all the way up. I think my oldest client's 58. So I have an older guy that comes in here. He just enjoys the game, enjoys hitting. But a lot of what I do is I teach in here. Okay. I don't really mess with swings too much. Everybody's body's different. Everybody's swing's going to be different. But I want to keep the barrel of that bat in the zone for as long as I can. That gives us our best chance at to get a hit or hit the ball hard. Let's put it that way. A lot of these guys nowadays are, everybody's trying to swing for the fences. I think batting averages are down, and I don't think that there's enough pure hitters. Aaron Judge or the Juan Soto's. Just pure Bobby Witt Jr. Just pure hitters, and that's why trying to get these guys back to, let's hit the ball hard. First of all, it's hard to freaking hit. Number one, it's hard to hit. So let's not make it harder. And just really working with guys' confidence, coming up with a mental approach, really dealing with the mental side of the game, whether it's hitting, base running, fielding. I mean, I even work with pitchers as well, too, even though they're not hitters, but I work with pitchers, too, because there's a lot of similar mental approaches that can be used for pitching and hitting. So that's a lot of what I do. I really enjoy what I do. I got a lot of great clients, always looking for more, just looking to teach the game of baseball. Thank you.
Do you help radio show hosts with their brains? I mean, because I'm out of my damn friggin' mind. So, if you want to, search in this brain of mine, I mean, I wouldn't mind coming over there and, you put on one of those like helmets, I'm going to need a couple of them because I probably hit my head one too many times. But hey, you know what? If you can do that, I mean, that could be a benefit to me too. So, oh my God. You're probably thinking, wow, this guy's out of his friggin' mind. But I am, by the way. But and now so when you listen to our show and you check our shows out, and we will get into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and our thoughts of what the Buccaneers did on Sunday, which was incredible. And
it was nice. I really enjoyed that game. I'll tell you that right now. I really enjoyed it.
Well, maybe you should be listening. So maybe you become a fan and send them our way because we are very unique. We're a funny show. We entertain people by our personalities and our knowledge in sports, but also go offset and do what we do, and that's just entertain. Sports radio and media has changed. It's actually really, really bad now, and now everything's transitioning into podcasts. Why? Because there is no good show out there. And unfortunately, I don't know if anybody's listening. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I'm not going to mention any names, but what we do here is very unique. And I think that if people tuned in, and we have a lot of fans, and shout out to all the fans that listen to us around the world and around the country, but the fans that aren't tuning in and seeing what we do and what makes us unique, you have to understand entertainment is very hard to do, and to keep you listening, to keep you watching, because you don't know what the hell I'm going to do or he's going to do or anybody's going to do. And even some of our guests on what they do, because a lot of them, they're sticky fingers over there, Mr. Speedy Petey. What is that, Fast Speedy? Are you playing with something over there?
I don't know. I think Max Scherzer must have gotten to my hand.
Maybe you got to spray something, maybe.
I'll ask Max Scherzer.
99% of the world would too. But Jason, we really appreciate the time as well. And I am coming out actually for a week. I'm leaving Thursday. I will be there for a couple of days. If I'll have Speedy, if you have a number, I'll reach out to you. I would love to come out and see what you're doing and see your training. I would like to take some footage and send it to Speedy. We'll cut it up. It would be great. And we could talk, I would love to have a conversation with you in person. Listen, what makes media in sports so special is the growth of it and understanding the work that you put into it. What you put into is what you get out of it. And I think people don't understand that, and they think it's just easy. Hey, I could talk on a mic. I could do it. And then they go on a mic, and man, oh man, it's dead spots. It sounds like crap. And I'm like, what the hell am I listening to? But hey, you know what? If you're a former baseball player, former athlete, and you say, I could talk into a mic, and then you listen to the garbage they put out there, it only tells me one thing. It tells me that you are so egotistical and you think that you can do anything that you touch and you put because you were a great football player or a great athlete. It's not that easy. It doesn't work that way. But what you do in getting into people's minds and seeing what people are thinking when they're up at the plate or at the mound or hanging out in the dugout, ready to rip somebody's head off, aka Bryce Harper, doing it to our friend. I'm talking about, Speedy, Mr. Relief Pitcher.
Oh yeah, the one the Mets and Yankees fans could both equally hate, and Jonathan Papelbon.
Yeah, Mr. Papelbon, who likes and hates the New York.
Now, Papelbon did have a point. But he shouldn't have done it out there. He should have been underneath. It should have been because Bryce didn't run it out. I completely agree. but you don't do it out where everybody sees it. You got to go underneath.
You got to go underneath, Speedy.
You got to go underneath
the undertone, you know, and make sure that it's clean over there, you know, clean.
I'm not going to be the one to judge that, like Jonathan.
And spray it. I mean, cleaning it and spraying it and wiping it are, very important to the undertone of that special spread that you put over there.
All right, I see, Jason. I see you're a Miami fan. You want to trash talk this Florida State fan?
Yeah, well, I went to Miami.
I didn't go to Florida State, but I grew up a Florida State fan. So.
Oh, okay. Well, here in Tampa, it's all Florida State. Period. So I'm like a rarity down here in Tampa. Being honest with you, but yeah,
it's okay. I still like you.
Huh?
I still like you. It doesn't matter if you played for Miami, even though
look, I want all the Florida teams to do well. I'm born and raised here in Florida. I want all the Florida teams to do well. I think it's a tough start for both teams.
Oh yeah, no question.
But Miami does look pretty good. That week 1 test against Florida, all my friends went to Florida. So I just sat there as a proud Hurricane, right there. So
yeah, well, I'm not a proud Seminole, but I did grow up a Seminole fan because I couldn't stand the Hurricanes. I couldn't stand Jimmy Johnson and the crazy stuff that he was saying. But hey, I respect Jimmy because Jimmy stood for something and he was a great leader. And you could see it. Ask the Cowboys, they haven't won since Jimmy Johnson has practically been gone. So we all know what leadership does to winning. So that's enough said. I'm not going to talk about anyone. I want the Cowboys to kill me. But you know what? Everybody else wants to kill me. So why not the Cowboys? The whole team. I stick up for Dak. I like Dak. Anyways, Jason, we love you. I will stay in touch with you. If you want, send Speedy your number. I'll reach out to you. I'll come out there. I'll absolutely come out there. I will be out there. So it'll be fun. I'd love to.
Good. Absolutely.
Jason Michaels, ladies and gentlemen, the founder of the Big League Approach. He's fantastic, Speedy. Great interview and great person. Now, 11 years in the major leagues and a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Baker, a.k.a. Mayhefield, And you know what I love about Baker Mayhefield? And I say Mayhefield because he fields, Speedy. He fields in May. And guess what? He was born in May. So there you go. That's why he likes Baker Mayfield. Because he was born in May.
Yeah, there you go. Your other Taurus brother.
Hey, he's a gamer. He's a gamer. I like it. I like the way he competes.
Well, it's definitely interesting with Baker Mayfield. There's no question. Every time he steps on the field. And by the way, he's an Aries. He was born April 14th. So he's close to us. So he's close. My heart goes out to another April baby. Unfortunately, he's not a Taurus. So, I'm going to step to the side on that, baby. Anyways, thank you, Jason. And
you got it. Thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jason Michaels, great person. And then you can see all the great things that he's doing now for these young kids, these youngsters that are developing. And it's amazing. It really is. It is an absolute treat when you get a guy like that. And it's not easy getting into people's minds. If you ever tried to get into my mind, good luck, because you probably run. All right. I don't even know what I'm thinking half the time. So whatever it is, it could be something that probably sickens you or makes you sick, but
affirmative.
Anyways, that's a whole nother story. Anyways, I do want to get back into football. There's a lot to get into. And if you're a Jet fan, ooh, baby, this is going to be good for you.
Speaking of making you sick.
Speaking of making me sick, I want to drown myself after that game on Monday Night Football. After the Jets got blown out by the 49ers on Monday Night Football, Colin Cowherd says that Aaron Rodgers is not the savior for the New York Jets. Stephen A. Smith also said that Robert Saleh is on the clock. WFAN's Sal Licata, who I can't stand, said that the Jets fans should still be optimistic about Aaron Rodgers despite the loss. Licata added that Monday's loss won't impact Hassan Reddick's holdout, and he still expects it to last for a while. Sauce Gardner also suspiciously left the game during the second quarter, and it wasn't even reported that he had a medical issue. Backup running back Jordan Mason, who the hell is that? Rushed for 148 yards versus the Jets, the third most rushing yards the Jets have ever allowed in a game. Oh, my God. First of all, and for all you Jet fans out there, this is not Aaron Rodgers' fault. Because how could you blame a quarterback that was only on the field for 21 minutes? And here's another thing. How does a quarterback who hasn't played for about a year and a half get any kind of rhythm when he doesn't even step on the field from the second quarter to the third quarter, mid-third quarter? Okay? He was not on the football field for almost 15 minutes from the second quarter into the third quarter because the Jets didn't, after the Jets completely debacled the second quarter with what? I think it was 9 minutes left. They didn't touch the ball for the rest of the second quarter. Going in to the third quarter, they didn't touch the ball till 7 minutes and 41 seconds. You're telling me the domination of controlling the ball because the Jets couldn't stop the 49ers on a third down. What was the problem for the New York Jets last year? They couldn't stop teams on the third down. And I'm sorry, guys. I know all the Jet fans out there are going to say, well, this was one of the best defenses in the league. On paper, they were the best red zone defense in all of football. As far as yards per catch, best defense, or one of the top 3 defenses in football. Rushing defenses, the worst, second worst in the NFL, 30th in the league, averaging about 137 yards per game.
Even the Chargers are better. That says something.
148 yards to a running back that was a third string. A third string running back. Embarrassing. And don't worry, I'm going to get into Bambi Sala, okay? Because I got my own thoughts to Mr. Bambi himself, Mr. Thoroughbred, who comes out there at his press conference and makes no excuses, but hey, it's the first game of the season. We'll figure things out. We'll be back next week. I'm looking forward to it.
Jordan Mason was as fleet of foot as a deer against Bambi.
This team, not only when they did step on the field offensively, made a lot of mistakes. Breece Hall dropping the ball on the first couple of plays of the game, despicable. And honestly, I'm not blaming this on Breece because Breece took the ball down the next time and scored, okay? So you can't really blame everything because everybody makes mistakes. Breece is going to make mistakes. Everybody is going to make mistakes. Garrett Wilson had 60 yards when I thought he was going to have 100 yards, but maybe if he was on the field more, maybe he does have 100 yards. Maybe he has a touchdown in this game. And all those Alan Lazard haters, well, what do you think about Alan Lazard after game number 1? What do you think about him? Aaron Rodgers shows up, and the guy has 2 touchdowns and almost 100 yards. Where are you Lazard haters? Oh, he's the boss. He stinks. What are you eating now? You eating Twinkies now? Where are you Jet fans on social media? This guy sucks. Why do we pay him $11 million? I wonder why.
They're eating hot dogs on the sideline with Mark Sanchez.
Well, he's married, playing with himself somewhere else on as an analyst. And maybe he's playing with himself and Rex Ryan's holding on to his nuts. And Speedy, you should be holding on to the other one.
No, I'm not.
Well, somebody's going to.
He won't need to. Rex Ryan's hands are big enough to hold both of them.
That's true, too. I mean, I've never seen his hands, but maybe you have seen his hands because he was playing with you. I don't know.
No,
anyways, I have no idea what is going on in that locker room. And Sauce Gardner, I do not know what happens in the second quarter. Nobody knows. And when the press asked him after the game, he said no comment. He doesn't want to answer the questions. They're keeping it within. Well, I guess that's professional, I guess. Or maybe Sauce Gardner, as good as he is, and there's no doubt he's the best corner in football. He just shut down Brandon Ayuk, okay? Shut him down, all right? I don't care. Everybody says, why did Brandon Ayuk have a bad game? I don't know, because Sauce Gardner was defending him. That would make sense if you watch the game. He was defending the best wide receiver. Whatever's going on in that locker room, it needs to be corrected. Because if anybody thinks that this defense played as well as everybody thought they were going to, is going to tell most fans that this could be a rocky season. If you can't stop the run, And you can't stop teams 3rd and 6, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. And you can't clog up the middle, and you're having a problem doing that, there is a huge, huge problem. And Hassan Reddick is not only the answer here. I know all the Jet fans are like, sign Hassan Reddick. This needs to be fixed. Hassan Reddick is a pass rusher. He doesn't clog up the middle. He's not a good run stopper. He's okay. He's not a great run stopper. He's not going to make a difference on clogging up the middle, guys. He's not. And Jermaine Johnson, him going out there on certain plays, running and pushing people and talking crap. Jermaine, I love you, man. You're a Seminole. You're deep into this heart of mine. Deep in the heart of Texas. Well, you're not from Texas, but you know what I mean. Don't go out there and be stubborn. Don't go out there and think that you're better than what you are because you were in the Pro Bowl because certain players were playing in the Super Bowl. Nobody gives a crap about the Pro Bowl. Everybody cares about the All-Pro. And if you want to be an All-Pro player, you got to show up to games. You didn't show up. That defense did not show up. They did not show up to that game. Now, to the coaching staff. A lot to get into to Bambi Sala, who has nothing to say at the press conferences except, it's the first game of the season. We'll get it done. We'll fix it up, and we'll be better. Now, I call him Bambi for a reason, all right? And there's a reason because this man is quiet. He's a so-called assassin. What he did over there in San Francisco stood for something, stood for personality, and stood out there and yelled at referees. What is he doing on the sidelines for the New York Jets? He's standing there playing with himself. I don't know what he's doing. Nathaniel Hackett, I don't know what he's doing. He wants to shave his beard. He wants to keep his mustache, whatever. He looks like whatever he wants to try to look like. Shaving your beard, having a beard is not going to change what the New York Jets did on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is just a piece of what this team should be and could be. You need to call the plays, and you need to make the right calls. And boy, oh boy, you didn't make the right calls. Your play calling sucked. And as far as Robert Saleh, standing there on the side, not knowing what to do, this defense, who, by the way, did not show up in the first half and then went through to halftime, and you would think, hey, you know what? This young kid, this Jordan Mason, who the hell is he? You had a chance to really explode right in front of everybody on national television against arguably one of the best teams in all of football without Christian McCaffrey, and you let Jordan Mason, you heard it, Jordan Mason have 148 yards? Embarrassing. Embarrassing as a Jet fan. And then you know what? In the second half, you would have thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to bring up a safety. I'm going to clog up the middle. I got Clark. He's a good run-stopping guy. No, you know what? You were playing the same way you were in the first half. I don't care if you don't like to blitz the ball. If things aren't working and you have a chance to win this game and to get your star quarterback on the field to get rhythm, you do whatever it takes. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'm sick to my stomach. And for all those people saying, oh, this is the best defense Aaron Rodgers ever had, but please show up to a game. Show up to a game that actually means something. This was the best chance for you to prove who you guys are. And for all you Jets analysts, and I'm not going to mention any names saying, oh, Aaron Rodgers looked good. Aaron Rodgers just needs more time on the field to get him rhythm. Yeah, he does. But Aaron Rodgers made mistakes too. He made mistakes too. Forcing the ball to Garrett Wilson. And he did it 3 or 4 times in the game. And I was like, where are you throwing the ball? I understand he hasn't been on the field for a year and a half. And he needs to get his rhythm back. But you are the leader of this team. Everybody is following you. The only thing that stood out to me from all the rest of this New York Jets debacle on Monday Night Football was that offensive line played very well. Yeah. That offensive line is for real. That is a good offensive line. That is a really, really good offensive line. And we didn't even get a chance to see Olu Fushanu, and maybe we won't this year. We'll see. Smith played very good. Morgan Moses played very well. Simmons played very well. Titman played very well. Elijah Veritaka played very well. That's the only thing that stood out to me as far, and obviously Lazard actually showing up to the game. I mean, he wasn't Daniel Jones where he was walking out and everybody was asking for $1 million, but he actually showed up to the game, 2 touchdowns, put up some points, put up some yards. That stood out. But the only thing that stood out to me as far as a Jet fan was the offensive line was really, really good.
All right, before I can say my point, I believe we have Mark Kelly on the phone now.
Mark, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're good, man. And Mark, we know you're in Alabama doing big things over there. We're very happy to have you on. I know you were sick to your stomach as far as the New York Jets are concerned. Your thoughts to my take on it?
So I mean, this job is way, more than anything I can handle right now. But I'm covering 8 county teams and 1 city school for high school teams. Football Friday's chaos, and we go. Our turnover is we get a paper out on Saturday morning, and then we get one out that we have to have in by Monday morning. So it's nonstop, over 100 hours a week. It's a lot, but I do have time for some pro sports. And last night, so I did my high school stuff, and then last night I go in, I'm watching the game in a bar next to some poor guy who just happens to be eating dinner, and there's me trying not to curse because you don't curse down south. Watching the defense just give up third down conversion after third down conversion. Now, I understand it's the first game. 49ers are good. You look at the fact that they were the NFC champion last year, so not like many people expected the Jets to come out and win, but the defense that you heard so much about and their inability to stop on third down. I didn't even know who punted for the 49ers until and then 70 plays, 400 yards, 1 sack, no turnovers. Those are the things that really bother me.
And another thing that bothers me is this is the best secondary in football. If you know this is the best secondary, Michael Carter just got a new contract. DJ Reed, it's on his final year of his contract, and Sauce Gardner's going to be expecting big bucks. Why don't you just play one-on-one with your corners and bring up those safeties and clog up the middle and shut down that running game that was destroying them on third down? Right. They run the ball. They kept running the ball on third down. The Jets couldn't stop anything.
Now, you know what was killer? I think it was 7-6, and then they drove. They had 4 penalties, 49ers. Holding calls, pushing them back, and then they just make it on the next play. And then they go in for the touchdown. And then, right after halftime was really when the Jets could have won the game, or at least get back into it. And the 49ers go right back down and score. And at some point, you were watching the game and thinking, okay, when is this defense going to stop somebody? Now, again, if we hadn't heard about how historically great they were going to be, champion, they're pretty good. They're probably supposed to win at home, against an AFC team that was under 500 last year, even if they have Aaron Rodgers, okay? But the thing that kept going through my mind was this. How many times in my life have I watched that game? You get excited, and this is where the fan base comes in, because you get excited. You're looking forward to all off season for football. Now, New York fans, they got the Yankees and the Mets are playing better. Maybe both will make the postseason, but the Giants certainly aren't going to be any good. And you've been kind of waiting for the Jets season to start. And how many times have you waited for the Jets season to start, and they come out and they just lay an egg? And it's a bad taste to have. And that was only the first game again, but it is what it is. In '98, they lost the first 2 games before winning 12, which was the only time they've ever won more than 11 in the season. So hopefully they'll get better. I liked how Rodgers looked, but defense is going to be this great defense like we thought it would be. I don't care who they're playing. They can't allow 70 plays.
70 plays. Every single third down was a first down. I mean, they controlled the clock. If you're a good defense, how do you let a team get 30 minutes on the field offensively? How do you have 38 offensive minutes on the field? 38.
38 minutes.
38 minutes to 21.
I turned on the game at the beginning of the second quarter. I only saw like 6 plays on offense.
Yeah.
So
embarrassing.
That was. I was embarrassed watching the game because then of course you go in there, New York bravado. You're down here. No one cares about pro sports down here anyway. And by halfway through the third quarter, I'm ready to go home because I feel exactly like this wasn't worth my time. But hey, look, what are you gonna do? Okay.
What do we do? I'll tell you what we need to do. We need to reach out to Bambi Sala, okay, Mr. Bambi himself, and I don't know what maybe needs to be pet. I don't know what he needs to do. He needs to be pat on the back, Maybe we need to help him shave up, that beard that he's growing again. Who knows what he needs to do? He needs to figure something out. Maybe he needs to shave his balls. Speedy, maybe we need to teach him how to do that, okay? After we teach you. But I don't know what it is, but there's something going on in that locker room that needs to be fixed. And that has to do with coaching. And I just don't think this coaching staff is good enough. And Aaron Rodgers, I loved what I saw in certain aspects of the game. But what scares me right now is that I think that this offense has a chance to be something great. And for all the things that we thought was not going to be the problem this year, this defense, I think there's a lot of problems in this defense. There's a lot of holes in this defense that nobody thought they were going to have. Ashton Davis did not show up in this game. He played well in the second half last year, did not show up in this game. I don't know what's going on with him. I'll say this, Jermaine Johnson, who had a lot to say before the season and before the game, did not show up to the game, made a lot of mistakes, especially 2 penalties that were costly for the New York Jets. And then as far as I'm concerned, this running game where everybody keeps talking about how great Breece Hall is going to be this year. He's the second best running back in all of football. Where was he this game? Okay. Besides dropping the ball. Okay. So yes, he had a touchdown in this game. And yes, he did all right. You're one of the leaders of this team. You're expected to show up game in and game out and get that 100 yards. That offensive line played well. Why did you not find the seams? Why did you not find ways to keep this team on the field? That was the problem. And I think that's moving forward. The Jets need to figure out how to get these tight ends involved. Conklin, I don't even think caught the ball one time in the game. He didn't catch the ball. Where's the tight ends? I mean, Jeremy Rucker was on the field. Why didn't he catch the ball? I mean, why aren't they using? And by the way, where's Mike Williams? You made the move. You bring in this guy. You're paying him money. Why isn't he on the football field? It doesn't make sense.
And a lot of that is coaching on both ends of it too, because especially on the defense, because the defense should not be letting the 49ers right side of their offensive line play as well as they did in that game. It's one thing if Trent Williams do it and some of the other interior guys that are good. Colton McKivitz, if he didn't play for the 49ers, would look like Evan Neal. Like, that's how bad he was last year. And they have a bunch of injuries with their middle of their offensive line. That looked good. And they should not look as good as they was. Juwan Jennings was catching passes against the Jets' smaller corners, like DJ Reed and Michael Carter. As good as they are, they're undersized. Yet Juwan Jennings, a big-bodied guy. Where's Robert Saleh going to adjust to that too? And it seemed like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall both had those great drives, and then they adjusted because they were the hot hand, and the Jets never adjusted back.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Okay, the Jets should have learned a lot last night from watching the 49ers play. Okay, because that's how you play when you're expected to win, and that's how winners play, and that's where the Jets got to get to. Because at some point you got to say losing to them isn't acceptable anymore. It's not right now. Not the first game of the year against the defending NFC champions. But it's going to be at some point where you are going to go and you got to go on the road and you got to be the team that you're supposed to be at the same level as. So where are they? What level are they at? They're not on the 49ers level.
Well, hopefully we figure that out against Tennessee, because that's a team they should beat against a quarterback that's young and inexperienced. I want to see them show up to Tennessee and actually put up a W instead of lose a game and go 0-2 heading home to the New England Patriots where they're licking their lips on Thursday Night Football.
I know, but you know what? The Patriots beat the Bengals.
Okay, that's a whole other story.
And the Titans defense played well against Chicago too.
I am still not thinking they're above losing to the Patriots. Okay, they got to show that they can beat them consistently first. I'm not giving them anything yet. They got to come out and win as many games as they can so people can have some kind of like legitimacy to the fact that all this hype right now, it's just hype. That's all it is. You know, I mean, there's nothing else. There's just promise and, you know, maybe expectation, but we haven't seen anything yet as far as what everybody's been saying they are. I mean, I've heard some people say that this is the best defense in the NFL. This is the best team in the AFC. All I know is that the Bills won, the Dolphins won, and the Patriots won. You know who didn't win?
The Jets.
Exactly. You know who's in last place at 0-1?
The Jets.
Exactly. You know who's 18-34 as head coach? Salah.
Robert Bambi. Bambi Salah. Good old Bam.
But he's still losing. At some point, you got to beat a team like that if they want to get to that level. That's what I'm saying. So they should have been taking notes last night. Okay? This is what a team does when they beat your ass. They come out, they run the ball, they execute, and they don't turn the ball over.
Robert Saleh doesn't take notes. He only writes down receipts and keeps them.
I'd rather wipe my ass than listen to Robert Saleh after the game. I really do. I mean, I'd rather just clean my ass nice and clean.
Yesterday. How good did Sam Darnold look yesterday?
He looked good.
Oh, he had his best game in New York ever.
You know, looked pretty good, huh? Jeez.
Please, just stop making me sick to my stomach. I don't want to talk.
Winning.
All right.
What are we going to get Troy Taylor next time to come on and beat somebody?
Yeah, well, somebody's got to watch this debacle of an organization. Why not us, right? I mean, seriously.
Play in 1991, by the way.
Well, you keep up the good work. Let's talk, man. I want you to come on every single week. Listen to the show. Keep listening to the show because we're going to go through the NFL games, and I'm sure you're going to like what I have to say and what we're all going to say about this NFL week number 1 in the NFL season, which was all over the place and surprising. As you said, the Patriots beat the Bengals. And by the way, it was so funny at the end of the game when they were interviewing Joe Burrow. And his reaction to losing against the Patriots, it was pretty funny. It really was. I mean, you know what he looks like? He looks like Chucky, you know, with blonde hair, not with red.
Child?
Yeah. Oh, man. I just love it. I love it. I love football's back.
Yeah, I miss you guys.
I miss you too, bro. I miss you too. We would love to come down and put on a show for all the fans out there.
Man, that'd be great. You have all weekend. We'd be doing stuff.
We should talk. We're going to talk. I miss you too, and you got to stop being. We don't hear from you for months, man. Where the hell are you, man? What are you doing over there?
I barely leave my house.
Yeah, all right.
But no, and you guys do great, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you so much. We love you too. We love you too, as always. Mr. You know who he is. Mark, aka Mr. Mac Daddy of them all. We love him. Everett Kelly. He's doing big things over there in Alabama. I'm so happy for him. You know, the guy works his ass off. All the things that he does, and all the things that he's done for me, this guy won 2 Emmy Awards, working for ESPN and, with all the sicknesses that he's dealt with over the years and cancer and fighting it and book writing, the success and getting his opportunity to get back into the business. I love what he's doing over there in Alabama. And my heart goes out to all the people that work their asses off and the industry doesn't give them an opportunity or doesn't even see them for what they're worth. And he does. He's got the Emmy Awards to show his worth. And I love the guy. Absolutely love the guy. He's a brother to me. He'll always be a brother to me. And it means a lot. But I do want to get into all of it. By the way, that was a rough one for the Jets. I think they'll bounce back, though. You think?
They better against the Titans or the Patriots.
I think I have a better chance of jumping on a trampoline and bouncing than watching the Jets bounce back going to Tennessee, okay? I don't trust it, okay? It's just, to me, it's very Jet-like to see what they did on Monday Night Football in game number 1 and then go to Tennessee in week number 2 and put up another lousy goose egg.
Oh, just wait for the Sam Darnold revenge game. It's coming.
I mean, what are you trying to make me even more sick to my stomach?
No, I just think it would be funny.
No, it's not. It's not going to be funny for me. I mean, watching Sam Darnold put up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against a team that I thought should have kept him, should have developed him. I know they brought in Breece Hall because of it, and they traded with the Giants to get him because of that. But nevertheless, Sam Darnold, I still believe could be a franchise quarterback. And maybe if Aaron Rodgers decides to part ways with the New York Jets at the end of the season, if they have a losing season, maybe they give Sam Darnold a second chance here in New York.
Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings, just like Brett Favre.
Oh, please. Please. I think Aaron Rodgers is done if it fails this year. I think they definitely need to make the playoffs this year. It's anything less is a failure as far as I'm concerned. And I don't want to hear it from the Jet fans. Well, we won 10 games. We just fell short. No. Stop with this falling short crap. I mean, you just need to find the rhythm. I'll tell you what he needs to do. He needs to play Aaron Rodgers football. And this defense needs to show up every single week with Bambi on the sidelines and stop putting his head between his legs and looking for something to come out of it. Okay? In many different ways, by the way. But that's a whole nother story. Let's go to a quick break. When we come back, we will get into the NFL season. We'll get Fish involved and a lot more as our second guest will be joining us at 9:30, Kentucky State assistant coach Jason Dunn. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the top of the hour, and I am Tommy Scoops, back for another Loudmouth Sports Minute, and starting off with some more NFL. Bears rookie wide receiver Roma Odunze is still likely to play Week 2. After Odunze, who suffered an MCL sprain in the win over the Titans, the rookie could still possibly suit up against the Texans this Sunday. In other NFL news, citations was issued to Dolphins wide receiver Hill has been revealed. Hill was detained and given citation for careless driving and seatbelt violation, where the Miami-Dade police also released the body cam footage of Hill's detainment. Lastly, the Browns are going to be signing defensive end Sam Kamara off the practice squad. Kamara, who has been with the team since 2022, now gets his chance on the 53-man roster. Now over in the MLB for Scoops' scores right now, the Royals still have a 4-0 lead over the Yankees, while the Pirates have a 6-3 lead over the Marlins at the bottom of the 8th. Also at the bottom of the 8th, the Phillies have a 9-4 lead over the Rays, while the Braves have an 11-0 lead over in the Nationals heading into the 9th. Right now at the bottom of the 6th, the Blue Jays have a 5-1 lead over the Mets, while the Orioles have a 3-1 lead over the Red Sox. The Twins currently have an 8-4 lead over the Angels at the top of the 6th, while also at the top of the 6th, the Guardians have a 1-0 lead over the White Sox. Right now at the bottom of the 5th, the Reds have a 3-0 lead over the Cardinals, while the Athletics have a 2-0 lead over the Astros. That is all the time I have for you guys right now, and I'm going to kick it back to the boys for the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Willie Whoppers, Speedy! Willie Whoppers! It is Whopper time, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm whopping through the end zone. I don't know if I'm whopping to the end zone, but if I was, I would be with Willie Wops, right, Speedy? I have no idea. Willie Wop, here we come. Gonna score a touchdown with a come, right? We are the Sports Loudmouth. You're listening to Errol Marks and Speedy Petey. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. As you know, you can go to our website at www.worldwidessportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidessportsradio.com. And ladies and gentlemen, you should be going to www.worldwidessportsradio.com and checking out Stubby Hubby. That's, you know, it's StubHub. Go to StubHub, hit our link, and log in and get a chance to win or get yourself percentages on concert tickets, game tickets. If you like the Kansas City Chiefs, you can get some good deals right now on StubHub. If you go to StubHub and you go to live games, concerts, go to our login. Go hit our link on our website. Get a percentage off, 10 to 15% on different games and concerts. All you have to do is hit our link and, get credit on getting the percentages off by hitting our link, by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Bing, 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 bing. What the hell was that? Anyways, oh, man, what a day. What a game. What a father. Whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I'm losing my mind tonight, Speedy. I'm losing it. I'm a Jet fan, and I can't stand it. But there's a lot of fans that can't stand this story. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that Dak Prescott signed a 4-year, $240 million contract extension with the Cowboys. The deal will also have an $80 million signing bonus and $231 million guaranteed in Dallas, or on a Dallas radio interview with Jerry Jones. Also said that anytime he was made a player, he has made a player the highest paid at this position, the Cowboys have won a Super Bowl. Both Tony Romo contract in 2013 and Dak Prescott in 2021 were top 5 quarterbacks and had their big contracts. Skip Bayless took shots at Jerry Jones, saying they shouldn't make a player that has stunk in the playoffs the highest paid player ever. Tom Brady praised Dak in his broadcast debut, saying he is, he's the field general every team in the NFL is looking for. Micah Parsons said he is happy for Dak and getting paid and knows he will soon be paid by the Cowboys. Dak had 179 passing yards and a touchdown in the Cowboys' 33-17 win against the Browns. Week number 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this game, and we'll go through all the stories and go through every single game because, if you're sick to your stomach, you shouldn't be if you're a Cowboy fan. And I don't understand Cowboy fans. I really don't understand Cowboy fans. And one of the main reasons why I don't understand Cowboy fans is when a quarterback is an MVP favorite for the last 3 seasons, okay? He's been an MVP favorite in top 5 in the voting for 3 seasons in a row. Okay, except though this actually 2 seasons, because the season before he didn't play very well. But 2 seasons in a row, he has played very, very well. Okay. And again, I know everybody doesn't like Dak Prescott because he doesn't stand for anything. But I think he stands for a lot more than you think. For a guy that's dealt with so much in his career and a lot of stuff. His mother dying, his brother committing suicide, him snapping back his leg, and everybody thought his career was over. Okay, and then show up and put up almost 4,600 yards, 4,700 yards last year, and is up for an MVP. And then goes out, gets his contract, $60 million a year, making him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and winning a game against arguably the best defense in football was last year, and some people think a top 3 defense this year, as they did not show up in game number 1 against the Dallas Cowboys, but either did Dallas. I mean, Dallas's defense showed up. The Dallas's offense was up and down, but it wasn't because of Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott played a good game. He showed up to the game and he put up the numbers that he didn't need to flash the scoreboard. He didn't even put up 300 yards or 280 yards and 4 touchdowns where every Cowboy fan expects because he's making $60 million. You're not going to put up those numbers every single week. But what I would say about Dallas and what Dak Prescott did is he did what he needed to do. He was 19 for 32, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. His passer rating was 89. 89. Those numbers would tell you he's a great quarterback. Now, again, it doesn't stand out with 350 yards. By the way, how many quarterbacks in week number 1 threw over 350 yards? How many? Please tell me, because I want to know. It's not many. I don't even think there was one. So what does that tell me? Defense is different in the NFL now. The defense has gotten better. And with the new rules and the new kickoff rules, people got to get used to it. And being that there's not many, practice. There's no preseason games where you're really playing with your team or playing that many times, not many times on the field together. It takes a while to really figure out the team. It might take 3 to 4 weeks before this team plays at full strength. What I will say is Ezekiel Elliott, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the Cowboys. And he didn't have a good game. He was 10 carries for 40 yards, but he still had a touchdown. And he still averaged 4 yards a touch, which tells me, ladies and gentlemen, an average quarterback in the NFL averages 3.6 to 3.7. He averaged 4. So he can still play in the NFL. He's not Barry Sanders, beef. Okay? And for anybody who thinks that Ezekiel Elliott is Barry Sanders is an idiot. What I can say about this Cowboy team, I did not think the Cowboys were going to run all over this Cleveland Browns team. And by the way, DeShaun Watson, I don't know what's going on with him. He's horrible. He looks horrible. 24 for 45. Who has a quarterback that hasn't been on the field for almost 2 years? Almost 2 years, throw 45 times. I mean, seriously.
That team that has no Nick Chubb, apparently.
And I'm not taking shots at the coaching because we know he won Coach of the Year last year. He was the best coach in the NFL. I'm not going to take shots at him, okay? But it doesn't make any sense. DeShaun Watson is not the same quarterback that he was with the Texans. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a head situation. I don't know what's going on in that man's head. But I will say this. Whatever's going on in his head or other heads, he needs to wake the hell up. Because this team, who's expected to make the playoffs or challenge the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, or even the Bengals, did not show up in game number 1 of the season. Did not. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Amari Cooper needs to play better. He needs to show up. I don't know what happened. And I'm not going to blame all on Amari Cooper because he only had the ball thrown to him twice. But get open. I'm not saying that the Cowboys are world beaters when it comes to their defense. They're a good defense. Their secondary is not good. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. Their secondary is not good. To shut down Amari Cooper and Amari Cooper not get open, he did not get open. And that's why DeShaun Watson did not throw him the ball. That is a problem. So that is something that it stood out to me with the game. The Cowboys did not utterly world beat the Cleveland Browns offensively, but defensively, Micah Parsons was all over the place. And he always looks good. I'm just saying this. He always looks good in the first 8 games. And then he falls off for some reason. But Micah Parsons actually showed up. And this defense showed up. Kendricks looked really, really good. He had 2 sacks in the game. This guy comes from Minnesota, comes over here. His first game with the Cowboys has 2 sacks. DeMarcus Lawrence showed up to the game. He actually had 2 sacks. And why? Because Micah Parsons, who had 1 sack in a game, was all over the place. They had to define their offensive line. And Cleveland has a good offensive line. They had to figure out where he was going to be, and it opened up seams defensively for the Cowboys to get at DeShaun Watson. So that's really what it was. It was the Cowboys defense in game number 1 and Dak Prescott not making any mistakes. That's what won game number 1 for the Dallas Cowboys.
And all the Cowboys fans complained, Dak Prescott didn't have a world-class stat line. Well, for one thing, he didn't need to because they dominated in every other phase of the game. Now, granted, I'm not going to jump the gun and say the Cowboys are going to be some elite defense all season long because the Browns did have some injuries with their offensive line. They had no Nick Chubb. And like you said, they don't have, besides Amari Cooper, they don't have much other talent. Plus, Njoku got hurt during the game, too. So that's their second target. So don't jump the gun on that and say, just because you dominated against DeShaun Watson. But even so, the Cowboys' offensive issues were on full display when CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, you knew were going to be rusty, and they didn't have other guys step up big. Yeah, Zeke did well. I'm not saying that he wasn't efficient as a runner, but he's 29 years old. He's not going to be the same running back that he was 3 years ago when he was a peak guy. And obviously Jerry Jones, who, by the way, you're wrong, Jerry. You gave him the highest paid running back contract in the NFL. Where did you go? So clearly your statement is wrong there, saying you always win Super Bowls when you do that. But either way, their offensive line looked pretty good. But besides that, their offensive skill players, they weren't much of anything else. They had a special teams touchdown. They had Ferguson get hurt, which was unfortunate for them. But Brandon Cooks had the 1 touchdown. That was it. Like, they didn't really have much. Like, your flaws with Dak Prescott not being able to carry you the same way as he was as an MVP finalist were on full display in that game against a defense that I expect to regress a little bit or still a nice defense.
Before I get Fish involved in this conversation, ESPN's Dan Graziano reports that the NFL is investigating another incident against DeShaun Watson when he was on the Texans in 2020. It is a civil lawsuit filed by a woman accusing Watson of both sexual assault and battery at a restaurant in Houston. Man, he goes all over the place. I mean, he does it all over the place. The lawsuit also claimed Watson was screaming at a woman when he wasn't able to find her apartment that night. The lawsuit claimed that Watson was later lying on the woman's bed, naked in her apartment, and requested a massage. Watson has been previously accused of sexual assault in 24 other cases, and he ended up settling 23 of them in the summer of 2022. The Browns, after restructuring Watson's contract a few weeks ago, now have to pay a cap hit of $73 million in each of the next 2 years. Watson is in his third year of a 5-year, $230 million full guaranteed contract. Oh my God. I mean, I didn't hear about this story, but this is nice. This is nice to know about another and an improving DeShaun Watson. And I mean improving because he does it everywhere. It's not just in Texas or in the stadium or even at his own home. He's doing it in restaurants. Hey, I gotta hang out with DeShaun Watson. I mean, he must have his fun, man. I don't know what's going on in DeShaun Watson's head, or what was going on in DeShaun Watson's head. But whatever it is, it's obviously a rub and tug. And if you want to rub and tug it, I mean, Speedy, maybe we should reach out to DeShaun Watson. I mean,
I don't want it, but maybe these guys in the photo want it.
I mean, handcrafting it or even tossing it, and there's a lot of salad to be tossed. I mean, maybe we hang out with DeShaun Watson. He's not going to be tossing footballs much longer, so maybe somebody. Well, it's a frat ball.
Oh, he'll be tossing footballs just maybe with Antonio Brown and some spin.
I mean, honestly, if you're a DeShaun Watson fan, you should be very, very worried that if this story is to be true, this is only going to make it worse if he can't show up on a football field every single week. And the Browns look like an organization that really is still trying to search for their quarterback when they had him in Baker Mayfield. They gave up on Baker Mayfield. He went to the Rams, and now he's playing over there in Tampa after 1 year with Canales, who goes over there to Carolina. By the way, laid a lousy goose egg. Again, Bryce Young didn't look very good. That's a whole nother story. We will get into it. But Baker Mayfield actually showed up. And I don't know what's going on in this Browns organization, but the Browns organization is looking like an organization that really doesn't know what they're doing. They have a good coach. They have a good defense, but a defense that didn't show up in week number 1 in certain aspects of the game. They did play okay. I mean, they did get at, Dak. They sacked him a couple of times, but all in all, when they needed to get Dak Prescott and put pressure on Dak Prescott to make mistakes, they couldn't do it. And to me, DeShaun Watson is the quarterback, but it wasn't all DeShaun Watson's problem or all his fault. But again, DeShaun Watson is the leader of this team. DeShaun Watson is making $230 million, and DeShaun Watson has a problem keeping his thing in his pants. So I don't know what is going on as far as the organization and sexual battery and all the craziness that's going on with these women suing him. And maybe the story isn't true. But I mean, how could you deny it? Because he's been, he's been caught 24 times, doing the same thing, laying on beds, laying on, sofas and, benches, park benches, or whatever the hell he's doing it on, and asking, a little rub and tug. I mean, Robert Kraft should give him one of those, and maybe he should give Robert Kraft another one. And then maybe they should hang out together with, all the other guys. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Antonio Brown should definitely hang out with those guys. They're all friggin' nuts. But that's a whole nother story. That's not what we're going to get into tonight. Fish, let's bring him in. Might as well ask him his opinion on the game. And, the Dallas Cowboys making that money well spent to the Dak Prescott era.
Well, I don't really understand Jerry Jones, because Jerry Jones said, and you guys mentioned it, we always, when we have the top paid players in the league, we always win. 4 years ago, Dak Prescott was the top paid quarterback in the league. And now 4 years later, you are making him the top paid quarterback again. What senile. Has he done?
He's senile. He's losing it. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, maybe,
what are you talking about?
Hey, he wanted Johnny Manziel too. I mean, that would have been interesting. How much coke
speaking
does he
of the
need
Browns
to sell that to the fans?
Well, look, I think Jerry is just the guy in name only at this point. It's his kids, and they're not anything special to write home about. I'm just happy that the Cowboys have a bunch of talent, and I know they're going to screw it up. I don't care how good they start this season.
That's coming from a Giant fan, ladies and gentlemen.
But it's the same story since what? 1993? 96. 96 is last. No,
You're gonna
96.
tell me, Fish, right now that Dak Prescott doesn't deserve that. I'm not saying that anybody deserves $60 million, but if you look at what Dak Prescott has done and really dealing with it with the Dallas fans and all the stuff that he's gone through over the last 3-4 seasons, you're going to tell me he doesn't deserve that money?
Errol, I would march Daniel Jones's dead body to the police, turn myself in take all his money, rob 5 banks, and then give it to Dak Prescott, and then beg him on my knees as they pull me away for the rest of my life to prison to play quarterback for the Giants. It is that bad over here in Giants land that I don't even care if he can't win in the playoffs. At least he can play football. It's gotten that bad that I don't even trust him, our quarterback, to throw a simple screen pass.
See, Fish, think of it this way, though. We could be DeShaun Watson and the Browns.
Well, you're right, and that's the sad part. It's not that DeShaun Watson is worse than Daniel Jones, because he's probably not. They were around the same in PFF. PFF actually didn't kill them that badly this week. Surprisingly, they killed Jalen Hurts this week, which is something we may end up talking about as we go forwards. But I'll say this. DeShaun Watson has the worst contract in sports history.
Yes.
It's the worst in all sports.
Well,
Guaranteed
do with the
fully.
Cowboys.
No. At least the Cowboys didn't do this. This guy was already under investigation. They had Baker Mayfield, and you brought it up. And I want to go back in time a little bit and remember what Baker Mayfield did to get himself kicked off that team. All he did was play with a partially torn throwing arm, through all the pain, an entire season, getting them to the final game, and then they throw him away after he sacrificed, saying, oh, he just doesn't have the arm strength. Of course he doesn't. He was playing on an arm that was hanging off the side because he was doing it for you. And then you get rid of him for this scumbag and give him all this money, and then he can't play for a couple of years, loses all of his good habits that he gained in Houston, and now he's one of the bottom 5 to bottom 10 quarterbacks in the league, and you're paying him like he's the best. And your cap hit's so bad, if you cut him, it's 73 next year with him. If they cut him, it goes up to 95.
Yeah.
They cannot cut him for the next 2-3 years.
And they just restructured
have
it
to deal with it.
They just restructured it literally like 2 weeks ago in the small hope they were going to get Brandon Ayuk. And why would Brandon Ayuk want to go play with freaking Deshaun Watson?
Speaking of handcuffed, ESPN's Jeff Darlington reported that before the Dolphins' Week 1 game, Tyreek Hill was handcuffed and arrested for careless driving and not wearing his seatbelt. Video footage shows that the officers pushing Hill face down onto the pavement to wrap him in handcuffs. The officer was Danny Torres, who has been with the Miami PD for 27 years and said that Hill was driving 60 miles per hour. Oh my God, that's fast. He also wrongfully accused Hill of driving without a license. 2 other Dolphin players, Calais Campbell and Jonnu Smith, were also detained by police before the game. Tyreek's agent, Drew Rosenhaus, we all know who he is, said that the officers that did that to Hill should be fired. Hill called out Torres and other officers involved in the police brutality, saying that if he wasn't somebody famous, he would have gotten shot or potentially killed. First of all, I got to give, Tyreek Hill a lot of credit, because even with all the craziness that happened before the game, he still put up 7 receptions, 130 yards, and 1 touchdown, and targeted 12 times. So no matter what happened mentally, he still put up pretty good numbers. So thank you to Tyreek Hill. If you're having him in your fantasy league, you should be very happy about that. I think Tyreek Hill has something to be right on this. Okay. First of all, Daniel Torres is Puerto Rican, Spanish. So I don't know if it's racism. I'm not going to get into this racist thing that, you want to go back and forth in. I don't know what was going through Danny Torres's mind when he decided to arrest Tyreek Hill. What I do know is I go 60 miles per hour in a 50 mile per hour speed limit, and I don't get pulled over by a cop. Okay? I didn't get pulled over by a cop. I've never gotten pulled over by a cop going 10 miles per hour in a 50 mile per hour speed limit. I don't understand it. Now, maybe the police were gunning for him. I don't know. And they knew it was Tyreek Hill because I'm sure they ran his plates before they pulled him over. And maybe they thought that he was drinking, or maybe they're trying to punish Tyreek Hill for all the stupid things he's done in the past. I don't know. What I do know is it's embarrassing when you have a superstar like Tyreek Hill and Miami, in a place that, you know, a lot of people go and visit, a lot of fans go and visit because it's hot, it's beautiful, fake asses, fake you know what. I mean, that's what you want to go. You want to see some naked women, go to Miami, go to the boardwalk. You'll see a bunch of naked women running around, jogging, whatever. That's what you want to see. But Miami football is really taken off. And one of the reasons why is Tyreek Hill. He's a different personality. He's a unique personality, but he's a guy that sells tickets. And when you know it's game day, it's Sunday afternoon, and if Tyreek was going 100 miles per hour, I'd pull him over, I would arrest him, I'd handcuff him. 60 miles per hour, you're going to arrest this guy, slam it to the ground? I don't know what Tyreek Hill was saying. I didn't watch the footage, and I don't want to watch it, because if it is police brutality, I don't want to watch it, because it makes me sick to my stomach. But what I do know is you have to understand when you're a professional athlete, you're a movie star, you're whatever, in the face of the media, people are gunning for you. And that's even the police. And Tyreek Hill has done a lot of stupid things over the last couple of years. This is not one of them. I don't think Tyreek Hill did anything wrong on here. I don't. There's stupid things that he's done, beating up people on docks and all that other crazy stuff that he's done. I agree. He's crazy. He did nothing wrong here. Nothing. Not after what, reading all the different stories that I've read between it. I didn't want to watch the video because I probably was going to get sick by watching it. I know a lot of people watched the video.
It was
probably
down to the pavement.
Yeah, it looked really, really bad. And I'm sure Tyreek Hill is going to sue the town, sue the city. He should. I mean, that's embarrassing by itself, but still went out there and put up a pretty good game for the Miami Dolphins. If you say whatever you want about Tyreek Hill, he's unprofessional. He does stupid things. The one thing I could say about Tyreek Hill is he's a gamer. He shows up to the game and he puts up the points and he gets his team involved and he wins football games. So I don't really have anything more to say about the brutality. I think that they should be fired or reprimanded for what they did. The fact that these things are getting recorded now could only tell you one thing about where the police and where, you know, politics are going when it comes to these situations. But I also believe that I'm not talking about Tyreek Hill, but other guys that think that they, like NFL players like Rice, speeding 100 miles per hour and almost killing somebody, gets away with it because he's an NFL player and he plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He did some interesting things when he was in college, and he's done some things in the NFL. But honestly, this wasn't a bad thing that he did. I don't think there was anything wrong that he did.
No.
So it's a shame to see something like that on you know, as far as TMZ or whatever the hell got the footage. It's embarrassing for the police department, and they should be sued. And I think Tyreek Hill should definitely drop the hammer on Miami and Miami PD. So
yeah, absolutely. Like it's excessive force. Like that's always the thing we're looking at when it comes to like discipline and anything. Like any type of police, any type of first responders, like that kind of thing. Like you don't have to put his head down on a pavement. Like that's excessive at that point to do that. And he wasn't even resisting arrest too. Like all right, it's one thing if you're resisting arrest, you're trying to fight back at them. Like Rashee Rice fled the scene. Obviously, that they're holding two different instances. Rashee Rice was driving 100+ miles per hour racing. Tyreek Hill was driving 60 miles an hour, which people do on the highway all the time, especially in a major city like Miami. Like you're trying to get to the game. You have two teammates in like the car like in other cars right next to you in Calais Campbell, who, by the way, is like one of the biggest community guys in the world. Like, I think he was a Walter Payton Man of the Year award. He was like, he's been a great community guy everywhere he's gone, from Arizona to Jacksonville. And then you have Jonnu Smith, who's always been a good stand-up guy. You have somebody like Tyreek Hill. Yes, he's crazy. He says eccentric things. Fine. And yeah, the incident last year with the boating patrol guy did not look good, but he's a victim here. Like, there's no reason this shouldn't have been blown up the way he did. This guy should absolutely be reprimanded, if not fired, by the Miami. This is a 27-year guy. Like, you should know this by now.
So I watched the film. I had to watch it. This really bothered me. Now, I've been very critical of Tyreek Hill's past on this show in the past because he's done some horrible things. He broke a woman's leg doing one-on-ones with her when he was her son was there for a camp and he was trying to date her or whatever, and then she actually beat him on a rep. So like he went hard at her and broke her leg. That happened. So she sued and got paid. That happened this offseason. That's just one of a couple of things. He slapped someone upside the head at the dock. All he did, it was a 60 miles an hour and a 40. I looked it up. He was going 20 over the legal limit. He was driving a Lamborghini, weaving in and out of traffic. He was supposed to get pulled over for that. Now, here's the thing. After that, the way we see the footage, he rolls down the window and then rolls it back up partially. And they ask him to roll it back down, and he just rolls it up. At that point, they basically rip him out of the car and put their hands on him in a way that seemed pretty unnecessary and hostile, as the Dolphins said later on. This is way above and beyond anything that it should be for this type of a situation. If you guys, I'm sorry, I'm having a bad echo. But if you guys tell me that I'm going to be driving to the game where I'm the star player, where I'm the one that makes the team win in a town that's got all this money set up for just revenue from tourism, you're trying to tell me we're going to go after this guy? The guy that's our cash cow. That's like killing the golden goose so you have a couple of chicken cutlets for the night.
No, I like some chicken.
You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Buy some chicken cutlets. I need some.
You go to Tommy DeVito's house.
No, I don't want that. I don't want Tommy's.
It was just disturbing, and I'll leave it at that because we need to make sure that we don't get too political with this. And I understand why people could say that. Tyreek Hill did something wrong. It just is how you handle it. Police should not be putting their hands on people. And of course, there's always going to be a racial element when you have something like that, whether or not the officer is black or white. It's just going to always be like that in today's day and age. And Miami police need to be a little bit smarter than this. Again, just goes to my old theory. If something stupid's happening, it's probably in Florida.
Well, I will say this, and by the way, I hear a little bit of the echo. We'll figure that out. But I have to say, Miami had a great they didn't start off very strong, but they definitely finished strong. No question, because they were down at one point 17-7, and they came roaring back, and it really had a lot to do with Tua. Everybody wants they want to take shots and say that this guy isn't a good quarterback, and he wasn't worth the money that he got. All right, I'll tell you somebody that wasn't worth the money that he got, and that's Trevor Lawrence. 12 for 21, 162 yards and 1 touchdown. Yeah, Jeff, I've said this many, many times. I don't think he's worth what he's getting paid, $55 million. He did not show up in the second half. I'll tell you who did show up in the second half. 23 for 37, 338 yards, 1 touchdown, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. He was the one that showed up in the second half and won that game for his team. I don't care what anybody says with the defense, and Miami's defense might not be that good, but guess what? They showed up in this game, especially in the second half, and shut down the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I don't know what Jacksonville is doing, but why wasn't Christian Kirk being brought into this offense? I saw Gabe Davis. I've seen a lot of Brian Thomas. Christian Kirk had 1 reception for 30 yards. 1 reception. He had 30 yards in the game. He was open a lot. Why wasn't our friend Trevor Lawrence throwing him the ball? Because I don't know what the hell he was doing. 1 reception for 30 yards. 30 yards on 1 reception. Yes, he was targeted 4 times. That's not enough. He's your number 1 wide receiver. Number 1.
I think Evan Engram just caught his first pass in the third quarter or something.
I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And Travis Etienne, okay? And I'm being very honest here. And I love you, Travis. You're a guy that I draft every year. And you had 1 touchdown. Could you please, for once in a game, when they need you, show up? I mean, seriously, what is going on with this guy?
Did you see it though, Errol? They benched him. I was watching it as it happened.
I know. I understand. And
He
I'm gonna
sat
tell you,
like the saddest expression I've seen on an NFL player's face in the longest time. He just sat by himself on the bench for the whole second half of the game because the next play after he fumbled the ball, walking into the end zone, just fumbled the ball through the end zone. They get it back on the 20, 80 yards to Tyreek Hill on a sail route to the corner. And that's why Hill had the big numbers. It was really mostly that play. But Hill, that's how good he is. You got to understand that that's the kind of team you have. And it's unbelievable that they took advantage of that mistake by Etienne that fast. It was like the moment I've never seen. I should say I've never seen, but it's one of those like epic, like change momentums that you just don't see very often. Where it's a 14-point swing like that quick. The game was over. It felt like when they were walking into the end zone, they were up 2 scores.
Trevor Lawrence should not be making $55 million a year. I'm sorry. I'm just speaking the truth. I think Trevor Lawrence, for everybody, and I remember Keith texting me, is like, Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great year. He looks like he's the real deal. Really? He looks like the real deal. He looks sucky. Okay. He is not the real deal. I do not believe Trevor Lawrence is anything what anybody thought he was going to be. And Travis Etienne, who I still think could have a good year, for you to pull him out the way you did, and Doug Peterson pulled him out, says one thing is that they don't believe that Travis Etienne in a big game could make the plays or even make plays to figure things out. And they just say, you know what, you made a mistake. We're going to sit you out. And if you do it again, you might be sitting out for the rest of the season. You're not going to be starting. So that's embarrassing. And if I was Travis Etienne, I would figure out my woes as far as I'm concerned as a running back, as a star running back that everybody expected or still expects to have a good season. So that's my thought to that. Mike Tomlin announced that Justin Fields will start for the Steelers again in week 2 because Russell Wilson has a calf injury. Tomlin called Fields a steady and reliant quarterback facing a lot of pressure in week 1 versus the Falcons. Rex Ryan says that the decision of the Steelers is simple because you could be looking at a superstar if Justin Fields hits his peak. Steelers reporter Mark Kabbali, right, said that Pat McAfee show that Russell Wilson was pouting on the sidelines like he was unhappy he wasn't playing. Adam Schefter said that on the Pat McAfee show that he still expects Russell Wilson to start in his return with his calf injury when he gets better. Fields was 17 of 23 passing, 156 yards, a touchdown, and had 14 carries for 57 yards in the Steelers' week 1 win against the Falcons. First of all, and there's a lot, and I know Jason's going to be waiting. I just want to get into this one thing because I have a lot to say about the Steelers, but I'm going to try to add this in for the next 6 to 7 minutes before we get our guest on. Here's the quick understanding of what happened in week 1. The Steelers defense is for real. Okay. This defense is probably going to be, if not the best defense in football, top 3 defense in football. They always are. Adding Queen to this defense, this is an explosive defense. And TJ Watt is just a sensational player. Justin Fields is enough to get this team to the Super Bowl. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't care about Russell Wilson and pouting on the sidelines. This guy could help them get to the Super Bowl if they just develop him. This is something the Chicago Bears could not do. This guy has all the intangibles to be a good quarterback. He really does. He can run. He's strong. He's big. He can throw the ball. He doesn't need to throw it 300 yards. He can throw it 200, 220. Look, Rex Grossman went to the Super Bowl, and he's nowhere close to the talent. Nowhere close to the talent of Justin Fields. They need to develop this kid. They need to build confidence. Keep him on the field. If you're winning, you keep him out there. I don't want to hear Russell Wilson when he gets better, he's going to get back on the football field. I don't want to hear that because to me, that tells me that Russell Wilson is teaching or not teaching, running this organization or telling the organization, if I don't play, I'm going to pout. Right now, the fact is, Justin Fields has a chance to really become something special in his league. And now I know everybody says it's nothing to brag about in his numbers. I mean, if you look at the numbers, there's nothing that stands out to me to say, oh, Justin Fields, superstar, well, bust. What I can tell you about Justin Fields is he's a gamer. He goes out there, puts his body on the line week by week. 17 for 23, pretty good. 156 yards. He didn't, blow up the scoreboard. But half the quarterbacks in week 1 didn't do that. What he does well, 14 carries for 57 yards. And he's going to do that every single week. Russell Wilson is not the same player he was when he played for Seattle. He's not. He doesn't have what Justin Fields has. Justin Fields could run a 4.4. You think Russell Wilson could do that? I'm going to tell you this right now. This defense is enough. If you remember, Ben Roethlisberger, in his first year as a Steeler, they went to the Super Bowl. That was the second year. Second year, I'm sorry. His second year, his first full year as the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he went to the Super Bowl and won, and he didn't even have to put up crazy numbers. He didn't. Why? Because their defense was good, and their running game is elite. I don't know about you guys, but when you have Najee Harris and Jalen Warren and Cordell Patterson on this team, you don't need to be a star wide receiver. You don't need to be a star quarterback to win. This defense is for real. For real. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If they stay healthy, oh my God, they're going to put up crazy numbers. I know because I had them on 2 of my fantasy teams. They're pretty damn good. I mean, in one fantasy league, they had 17, 18 points. The other one, they had 14. And they helped me win, baby. And that's all I'm going to say. So I'm just speaking the truth here. You can win with Justin Fields. You can win. Keep Russell Wilson off the field. Stop with this. Oh, he's pouting. He's crying. Let him hang out with Ciara. Let him get his money, his free money from the Broncos. And if they win a Super Bowl, he gets a free ring again. And that's 2 Super Bowl rings, which he should have won years and years ago.
Yeah, quickly before we get our guest on, you don't need quarterback turnover if you don't need any reason to. Justin Fields did not play bad. Like, okay, his stats aren't eye-popping, 156 yards. Yes, Carl in the comment section said better learn how to find the second read. I'm not saying Justin Fields doesn't have some flaws, but he has no reason for them to take him out yet. He didn't throw 3 interceptions. He didn't get sacked 7 times, and he ran back.
Did they win? Did they win?
I don't even care about wins and losses. Like, efficiency.
Did they win? They're in a division that they're not expected to win. Some people don't even have them coming out of that division. Did they win? Did they win the game? Did Baltimore win?
No.
Did the Bengals win?
Definitely not.
Did Cleveland win?
No.
I rest my case. They won. They got a W. So, Carl, I know you hate Justin Fields. I hope you enjoyed Caleb Williams because he didn't look too good throughout that game. That's the first quarterback in his first game to not really throw a touchdown in a game and still win. And I'm going to tell you, I love Caleb Williams. Love Caleb Williams. But for anybody to come out there and pick on this kid for showing up to the game and doing what he did in the game where he wasn't expected to play speaks volumes to what he can be if you develop him. And Chicago couldn't, and Mr. Eberflus couldn't. And tell me, I'm sorry, Carl, we haven't gotten into Chicago, and we will a little bit later in the show after our next guest. What did Chicago do with Eberflus when it came to making and showing up to games? Especially, the defense played good. Did the offense really play well? I don't know about that. So, I don't know. So, that's my thoughts on that. I mean, Fish, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just real quickly, this is absolutely the worst thing that happened for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson could not let someone else start getting the favorability in the locker room. Justin Fields, already younger, just as cheap, could be kept for the long term when nobody really wants him. He's more popular. You could see all the writing on the wall, even as long as they win with Fields. They had 6 field goals in that game. So it's not like he's lighting it up offensively.
You don't need to have great offensive games. You can win without putting up numbers. And you're going to tell me Justin Fields all season long is just going to put 156 yards. He's going to run in 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. He's going to do that. He's a great athletic talent. If he just figures it out, and if there's anybody that can develop somebody, it's Mike Tomlin. He didn't develop his
We're on the
last
same page, Errol. I completely agree. And I wanted to see if I can get some 6-year-old memories, if my math's right, Speedy, of a team that did this with Trent Dilfer at quarterback against our New York Giants in the Super Bowl, which was the great Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed defense. And Trent Dilfer was just the definition of a game manager. Fields controls the ball. No reason why they can't go really far this year and just use him and just be smart with
Just
him.
keep him in, please. Stop with this Russell Wilson crap. I don't want to hear about Russell Wilson anymore. It's alarming to me when you have a young quarterback that you can develop and you can build into this offense for many, many years to come. That's just my thing. When we come back, I know he's been waiting. We're very happy to have him. It's the first time. I think this is the first time on our show. Ex-11-year NFL tight end, Kentucky State assistant coach, Jason Dunn. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
That is right. I am Tommy Scoops back for another Loudmouth Sports Minute and going into some more NFL. After the Cowboys extended CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, owner Jerry Jones said today that money cures hard feelings, and that he said that he has never seen someone have hurt feelings after money didn't fix it. In other NFL news, Raiders are signing Clavon Chasen to the team's practice squad. Chasen, who was cut by the Panthers last week, will be joining Antonio Pierce's new team in Las Vegas. Lastly, the Colts are going to be signing cornerback Chris Lamons from the practice squad. Lamons takes cornerback slot from Juju Brents, who actually went on the IR with a knee injury against the Texans. Now, over in Scoops' scores in the MLB right now, the Blue Jays have a 6-2 lead over the Mets at the bottom of the 8th. Currently at the top of the 9th, the Orioles have a 5-3 lead over the Red Sox. And at the top of the 8th right now, the Twins have a 10-4 lead over the Angels. The Guardians currently have a 4-0 lead over the White Sox, while the Reds have a 3-0 lead over the Cardinals at the top of the 8th. At the top of the 7th, the Athletics have a 2-0 lead over the Astros, while at the bottom of the 1st, the Mariners have a 1-0 lead over the Padres, and the Rangers and Diamondbacks are just starting out here with 0 runs on the board. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now, and I'm going to kick it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Let's not. I don't care. Zero interest in putting balls into a knot. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Speedy, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including the Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And this segment and this interview is brought to you by StubHub. All you have to do to go to StubHub and get all the different opportunities to go to concerts and games and get a percentage off, 10 to 15% every single concert or game ticket. Well, you go to our website. You go to www.worldwidesportsradio.com, hit our link, and you will get all those percentages. I mean, you can go to games right now. There are Kansas City Chiefs games and tickets that you can get for about $50. And this is the Super Bowl champions, back-to-back Super Bowl championships. And you can get percentages off those tickets. All you have to do to go to our website is www.worldwidesportsradio.com. A guy that's not going to go to a Kansas City Chiefs game, or, and if he wants to, I mean, we can go together. We're now talking to ex-11-year NFL tight end and Kentucky State assistant coach for the first time on the Sports Loudmouth, Mr. Jason Dunn. Speedy, come on, clap.
I clap for myself. I'll put some claps here for me. What's up, fellas? What's going on?
Man, I know you've been waiting. I know you've been waiting, and you've never been on the Loudmouth, so this is a first time for you. So get ready to laugh and have a little bit of fun with us. This is not just one of those normal interviews. We will have some fun with you, but nevertheless, I mean, you look good, man. You look like you could still play in the NFL. I mean, there are quite a few teams that could use you. One of them are the Chiefs. I mean, I'm just kidding. The Chiefs, maybe the Eagles do. You're two teams that are fantastic that could be in the Super Bowl once again this year. I mean, Who's better than you, man? Who's better than you?
Dude, listen, I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it a couple of years ago when the Chiefs and the Eagles came into it and played the Super Bowl. And so everybody was asking me, well, who are you going for? Who you thinking about going? I said, look, you see this house right here? They said, yeah. I said, this is Kansas City money. Okay. So y'all here for the party. this is where we're going to. But I'm a Chiefs guy through and through. I still got a lot of affiliation with Philadelphia, and I love them, the fans up there. So everything, man, has been a great ride. Every bit of it. And so you can see some of these, man. This is when I was in my heyday when I was stretching the field. So that 4.45 man was real speed back then. That's what I was running. I had that type of speed. So, but yeah, man, this right here, this ride that's going on right now with the Kansas City Chiefs, dude, it's going to be a beautiful thing. And you're talking about the Eagles, that man, look, they got a stacked deck as well. So should be pretty interesting. Should be pretty interesting to watch this thing.
You mentioned stretching. I mean, there's one quarterback that likes to stretch things, and that's DeShaun Watson. What are your thoughts to that?
Crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy. Dude, I'm sitting over here trying to do the timeline. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Did all of this come out when he got first caught and then all of a sudden he did it again? Am I correct?
It was part of it. It was never revealed until now, apparently.
He's doing it in restaurants now. I mean, who's better than him? I mean, who's and laying on different couches and beds? I mean, maybe him and Robert Kraft should hang out. I mean,
that's crazy. That's funny you say that, because the thing is, when I see Robert Kraft, talk to the coach, after they won the game, he comes in. I'm like, look at Robert Kraft. I said a few months ago, they was caught this joker down there in was it in Tampa or somewhere? Ybor City. Yeah. So trying to get a happy ending, but hey, I don't know, man. This is what guys do. That's funny. That's funny right there.
I like to get a happy ending too from any one of those guys. If they give me, I'd give him a happy ending. Whatever he's getting paid or he's paying these girls, pay me. I'll give you a happy ending. I'll just wear a blindfold so I don't have to look at it.
Boy, that's crazy. That's crazy. You can keep that money.
No, I might have to wear a blindfold if I ever talk about this again.
Oh yeah. Listen, I heard the conversation before then, what you were talking about with the Justin Fields and Russell Wilson debate, man. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. The thing is, I just could not understand why Chicago wanted to move on from Justin Fields. Now, obviously, I don't think a lot of it was his fault. He had some bad offensive coordinators. The whole offensive, side was just terrible. It was horrible. And I don't think they did enough to build around him. All of a sudden, you get rid of him, and all of a sudden, you start bringing in the weapons, right? And it was like, well, shoot, Caleb Williams should be, he should be great. Yeah, he got everybody he needs around him. So I just think, man, that Justin Fields is a talent. I think if you stay patient with him and you do develop him, he's going to be a crazy guy, man, in this league. He's going to be a crazy guy in this league. The one that you shown where he threw to Pickens down there in the corner route, it's beautiful. That's a beautiful ball. It's a beautiful ball. So
yeah. Well, the Raiders now have their offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. You saw how well off their offense played against the worst defense in the NFL last year.
Yeah. That dude, I'm telling you. Some of these coaches are being regurgitated to teams, and I just don't understand how they still get jobs. For real. Seriously, I'm going to be honest with you. But this is what this guy...
I like to regurg.
But this is what Justin Fields can do. He can do this. This is right in his wheelhouse, man.
Oh, it's right in his wheelhouse. Just stay away from DeShaun Watson. That might be in his wheelhouse, too.
Yeah.
So they have to play twice a year, so that might not go over well. So, Jason, speaking of crazy, you played with a coach that's been crazy in the past, Herm Edwards, when you were with the Chiefs towards the end of your career. He's play to win the game. Obviously, that mantra. What was he like on and off the field as a head coach and as a person?
Yeah. You know what, man? Herm, to me, he's color commentary. He's a good coach. He's a good guy. But I think with him, man, that's he wanted all the glitz and the glamour. I think that's what he's doing now. It fits perfectly for him. But the thing is, he came down from the Jets, came to Kansas City, and it was a little bit different than what guys were used to. And so, but Herm is former player. He understands how to connect with guys. He knows how to talk to guys. But as far as one of the things that I will say this, okay, I don't think I'm saying anything that. But when he came into our offensive meeting room, he told us that we score points too fast. That's what he told us. So before he got in there, we were like one of the top teams in the league that were scoring points. We were like, had, one of the best offenses. And so his philosophy was whoever had the ball last at the end of the game was going to win. That's how he wanted to do it. And so we just weren't used to it. We were just used to just putting points up on folks. That was it. When you had Priest Holmes, Larry Johnson, those guys just running down your throat, and then all of a sudden, you throwing the ball up the field to Gonzalez and Eddie Kennison and, Johnny Morton, those guys, Dante Hall. I mean, shoot, why do you want to slow a machine like that down? So I just didn't quite understand that part of it. But yeah.
Well, and by the way, we were talking to ex-11-year NFL tight end and Kentucky State assistant coach Jason Dunn. The tight end position is so very interesting. And when you played, it wasn't really an important position. It was a position, blocking, and, you used wide receivers, but wide receivers as tight ends at some points of the game, but there weren't like superstar guys. Then you see guys like Jason Witten. Then you see Tony Gonzalez. There was Tony Gonzalez. You played with Tony Gonzalez. I'm not going to lie, but the position really started to develop, and now it's such an important position. Now you look at the league, you got Travis Kelce, you got this Laporta kid. All these guys are starting to develop, and now you're seeing these guys run a 4-4, 4-5 tight ends doing this. I mean, it's incredible, the style of game, and it's changed. Now you're seeing tight ends make money. What is the difference when you played and now the way the game has changed up and transitioned into the tight end, how important their position is now?
I think it really has to do with the scheme. So now teams are looking for matchups. And so offensively, if you're looking for a big guy that can run, that can get open, and, he's a matchup nightmare for the linebackers, safeties, you put him out there on the DB, he's catching balls. So Gonzalez was doing that back then when we were out there, right? And so you're talking about him, we're talking about Gatesy. You said Witten. So there was guys that was going out there that was catching up the tons of passes. The thing is, we just didn't pass the ball like they do now. They're throwing the ball everywhere. And so when you got Patrick Mahomes that's throwing, 40, balls a game, I think we've seen Bo Nix. He threw like 40-something passes this past week, right?
DeShaun Watson, 45. I don't like to play at 24.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the tight end is just really transitioned because now you have guys who are not really doing the dirty work as far as the blocking. And and that's fine because you want more of a spread offense. You want to open the door up a little bit more. But also, I think that it's changed a little bit with the running backs. Like I said, we had Priest Holmes, we had Larry Johnson. Now you got more of these kind of scat backs that's going out there to catch passes in the backfield or, out there in 5 or 10 yards away. And so, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, man, they're on the same wavelength, man. They're doing some things out here that's never been done before as far as like with a quarterback and tight end. These two guys are best friends, and it translates on the field. It really does. And so when you start seeing that, what Travis has been doing, then you talk about Laporta, then you talk about Mark Andrews. I mean, we talk about Isaiah Likely, right? Isaiah Likely right now. And I said, Isaiah Likely, he is a wide receiver playing tight end. That's what it is. And so you're not really asking guys to go in and hit a guy like Strahan and, in the face anymore. Okay. And so you're looking for like smaller linebackers, the pass rushers. Those are the guys that you're going to be going against more so than anything else. But this opens up the field. That's exactly what it is, man. But, Travis right now, man, is just killing everybody.
Yeah, I want to ask about, like, to a lesser extent, the wide receiver tight end hybrid draft prospects we've seen recently. Kyle Pitts was obviously the big one a couple of years ago. To a lesser extent, Trey McBride, but he still turned out to be a nice player with Arizona. And then this year, Brock Bowers got a lot of hype, obviously, with the Raiders, who are rivals of your Chiefs. But do you think that kind of thing, especially with the wide receiver contracts we've seen this offseason, maybe could become more of a trend where they're playing more of these hybrid type players?
Absolutely. I think, I wanted Brock Bowers. I thought Brock Bowers would have been the heir apparent to a Travis Kelce. To me, but you had to move up in the draft to go get a Brock Bowers. That was the thing about it. But you seen it. You seen, when Graham was out there, it was things that guys needed to do. Winslow Jr. And so when you start looking for more sleeker guys that can kind of get open and run routes like wide receivers, this is just going to open up your whole game. So you see right here, Brock Bowers, man. I mean, he's just making guys miss, man. He's incredible. He's incredible. So. He's just a guy that you got to contend with. And we've seen, everybody talks about linebackers and, these linebackers can't cover and stuff like that. Well, I tell you what, you take your chance and your shot to cover guys like this, okay? Just coming out there and see how you do, right? And so it's going to be this is a difficult task for linebackers and, of course, on safeties. But you definitely will see this hybrid type of deal. Another one, Gesicki. Gesicki ain't going to block nobody. He ain't going to put his hand on nobody to crush a great. He ain't going to do it. He's not. But he's going to go out there. He's going to be sleek. He's going to catch the football. So that's just where everything is just transitioning to as far as on offenses. So I think guys are looking at that right now in college. So if you're a tight end, they ain't really looking for you to put your hand in the dirt and go hit somebody dead in the mouth. They don't want that anymore.
No, there's no question. We are talking to ex-11-year NFL tight end and Kentucky State assistant coach Jason Dunn. First time on our show. We're very happy to have him on. I know he's a busy man. It's during the football season over here at Division I football. But, it's so interesting when you look at the game. And we talk about college sports and college football and how it, stepping on a college field and going to the NFL, two different sports, the speed of the game is just so much different in the NFL. And some of these quarterbacks and some of these players don't develop. They're first-round draft picks. They're expected to be superstars, and they're just not the same player. Everybody expects them. Trevor Lawrence being one of them. Everybody was comparing him to Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, and he just hasn't really developed into that player yet. Now, it could happen. I disagree. I don't think he will, but that's just my opinion. But what is it? What makes the college game so different from the NFL?
Okay. All right. Part of the difference is this. They've dumbed down the game so much in college. Okay. That's part of the problem. And Tom Brady, I think he alluded to this. He talked about this a lot. Yeah. And he was saying that the guys are not necessarily getting prepared when they go out there for playing in the NFL. So when you see in college these offenses that's being ran, they hold up signs all the time, tell guys what you need to do, who to throw to, your first and second key, and that's it. And so I think they're doing them a disservice. That's part of the problem. And so they're making it a lot easier in college, right? Because everybody likes seeing the points. And well, that's why you see games 60, 70 points. There's no defense, okay? Because it's all about scoring points. But what you're also doing with the quarterback is you're trying to tell him what to do, and you're dumbing him down. So that's a huge difference. So when he comes out to the NFL, he's not going against a guy that is taking, political science, right? He ain't going against a guy like that. We're talking about a guy back here who's trying to eat, who's trying to earn $20 million a year, okay? He's trying to eat your lunch. That's what this is all about. And so if you try to throw one and lob that out there to him, Surtain, Sauce Gardner, those guys are going to take it the other way. That's what they're going to do. And so that's part of the problem. And so when I sit there and I watch these quarterbacks, right, and everybody looks good, but nobody's putting the time and the work and the effort to learn the game like they should. And this is coming from one of the greats, like a Tom Brady. You know what I mean? So I think it has a lot to do with it. I really do.
So somebody that's making a lot of headlines in college football this offseason has been Deion Sanders with a lot of his controversial
We love
comments.
him.
Obviously, somebody that's started at a JUCO school. You coach at a JUCO school now with Kentucky State. And he started there, went undefeated, but now at Colorado, all he wants to do is make headlines and cause controversy and get his son involved. So what are your thoughts with the enigma Deion Sanders has had in college football?
All right. So I was coaching at a Division II school, HBCU, which he was doing so down there in Jacksonville, or Jackson State. I do believe that when he took on the task to coach over at Colorado, I think he had a plan about what he wanted to do. Now, you can get all the fast cars around you, right? You can have all the shiny toys and whatnot. But if nobody's back there to protect his son, to save his life, that should have been the first thing he went to go do, to get somebody to block for him. Okay? Go get it, Travis Henry. Yeah, this guy's incredible. But then all of a sudden you see him and he don't even want, he don't want to tackle anybody. So you could go both ways, man, but you got a responsibility there. So I think a lot of it goes into, look, you got to get some guys, man. Get some guys up front that's going to be some dogs. It's a shame that you have a guy like Warren Sapp there as a defensive tackle. I know he's ready to smack everybody in the defensive line room. I know he is. He probably want to line everybody up and just say, put your face right here. Let me smack you. You move on. Next guy up, smack, move on. Yeah, it just, because they should have never got beat by Nebraska. Them getting beat by Nebraska, man, just shows you how far they need to go. So I don't know if it's just something that the coaching is not translating or the guys are not getting it. But I do know that offensive line, man, looked like a sieve the other week, against them. So they want to get that back and put it together.
Speaking of coaching, Dabo Swinney, who has a big mouth, Nick Saban over the last 2 years complaining about the portal and the money that these players are making. I mean, the crying, but these guys are making tens of millions of dollars. Jim Harbaugh deciding, hey, you know what? I don't know what the hell happened in Michigan. I'm going to the Chargers. I don't want to deal with this crap. Same thing with Pete Carroll. I mean, these guys, they know how to jump ship as quick as they possibly can because they don't want to deal with the consequences. I don't know what is going on with football, college football, but these coaches are making a lot of money. Why should the players be making money? It doesn't make any sense. And as far as the portals are concerned, if guys like Deion Sanders is getting 60 people to go through the portals, they could do the same thing. I don't want to hear the crybaby antics. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're right. You're 100% right. 100% correct. And the thing is, what's disappointing about it, as much that I respect Nick Saban and Dabo, I did hear nothing but crying. That's what it was. And so all of a sudden, what ended up happening is the NIL started leveling the playing field. So now guys can go other places. Now you don't really have carte blanche over these guys. Okay, you could come in and hold a scholarship over a guy's head, but now the guy's making about $1 million a year, almost $5 million a year. What are you going to say to a guy like that? And so I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any type of regulation, but I think as a coach, your job is to get guys prepared and to get them ready. And so I think Nick Saban kind of stepped away from it when he had a chance and opportunity to actually show the challenge that he could have had being at Alabama, right? Hey, Nick, guess what? Everybody gets good players now, okay? Let's see how great of a coach you are. Let's see. So that's the only thing I had about it, man. So when everybody was sitting there saying like, oh, man, these guys shouldn't get paid that type of money, why shouldn't they? If Nick Saban is sitting over there making $15 million a year and Dabo's making 13 or 14, how come these kids shouldn't get paid? They're the ones putting their life on the line. Those are the guys out there playing, for it. They're the ones that's making all the money for the universities. So I just, when people talk about that, they miss me with that one. Okay. Like I said before, I'm not saying that there should be any type of regulation because I do believe they should. And also too, when we talk about guys that leaving from portal to place, then yeah, there should maybe be a penalty there, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Guy, you go somewhere, then you got to hold out a year. Okay. I think it changes things a little bit because what ends up happening, everybody's a merc. They're mercenaries. Okay. I spit it, I'm going over there. That's what's happening. So instead of doing things like that, at least have some guy have some type of loyalty to a program. Let him understand how you develop yourself with a particular team, and then you try to make your way. That's how you earn your money. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Deion Sanders doing what he always does, opening his big mouth and kissing Nick Saban's rings. Oh, Nick Saban, he's so great. Me. And then when it comes down to it, he's doing the same thing or the thing that Nick Saban doesn't like.
And Nick Saban has more rings than Deion Sanders has won games at Colorado.
It's such crap. These guys stop kissing each other's ass and then going and saying the opposite of one coach doing another thing that the other coach is doing. It is ridiculous. It's ludicrous. That's just my opinion.
So let me ask you this, man. Do you feel like there's anything wrong with the whole portal in itself? Do you have any type of criticism on any of that, my man, or what?
That's a good question. But you know what? If you don't like it, well, find a way to critique it. And stop sitting there and complaining that players. Caleb Williams made $5 million in college football last year. Okay, he also cried on the field about 3 or 4 times, which was pretty funny. So if that's what's selling him product and that's what's bringing him sponsors, I'll cry too. You want me to cry on this show? All of the sponsors can come to me. This guy's getting this and that guy's getting that. Listen, if it's going to pay me, I'll cry every single day. I'll take a dump on the show if it's going to bring me some sponsors that's going to make me millions and millions of dollars. So cry me a river. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If you look at the game of football as a whole, and especially college football for what it is, college football is growing. I mean, the TV deals that is going into these, different, these different programs and everything like that. There's a lot of money to be made. So me, I don't care if these players are jumping from one ship to the other. If you want these players to stay, Deion Sanders especially, stop putting them down. Stop saying that your sons are so damn great. And by the way, Shedeur Sanders, as much as everybody loves him and he's a first-round draft pick, whoever drafts him, I'm going to tell you this right now, he's a bust. He is an absolute bust. Enjoy yourselves. If for the Giant fans that you want Shedeur Sanders or whoever is next to get Shedeur Sanders as a top first-round draft pick, go ahead, get him, take him, and you can take Deion with him. It's never going to work. He's not a good pro quarterback. I've seen enough of him. Give me a break. Put a fork in him. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm talking about accountability. After
That's
the
all I'm going to
Nebraska
say.
game, he threw his offensive line under the
And
bus.
for
Yeah,
all
what
the
a leader.
people, and for all the
Yeah,
people,
right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by the way, Jason, just so everybody knows, we are talking, and obviously if you don't know him, we are talking to ex-11-year NFL tight end and Kentucky State assistant coach Jason Dunn. First time on our show, and this is the first time, and we love it. He is just out there and telling us what he feels, and that's the way we want people to be. I will say this. I sit here every day, and every time I come on this show, and I speak the truth. And people don't like it on social media. They attack me, say I'm a hater. I hate Deion. I'm racist. How does this make me racist because I'm speaking the truth? I love Deion Sanders as a player. I loved him as a football player. He was sensational. Probably, I still think Darrelle Revis is better than him. That's just my opinion. I am a Jet fan. But nevertheless, Deion Sanders is one of the greatest at what he did. But I will say this. How many father to son becomes a superstar when they step on an NFL field? It usually doesn't happen. So for anybody to think that Shedeur Sanders has the ability that his father had, I don't know if anybody's seen Deion Sanders play. He is a unique player. And as a quarterback, you know this, Jason, more than anything. You need to be the smartest guy in the field. Let me ask you a question. Deion Sanders doing what he did as far as his son is concerned after beating up a security guard and telling him to claim bankruptcy, and this guy doesn't have a job, can't walk straight for the rest of his life, tells me that Deion Sanders not only is dumb, but he's teaching his son the dumb way to handle things. That is not professional. That doesn't make any sense, and it's wrong. And that's all I'm going to say. It was wrong for what Deion Sanders told his son to do. And I think that he should look himself in the mirror and realize that you're teaching boys, not men. And that's why you don't want to be in the NFL, because you don't want to deal with the men, because you don't want to deal with millions and millions of dollars.
I tell you what, man, you got a lot of valid points. You really do. I to be honest with you, I do believe that he does handle Shedeur with kid gloves. And I do believe that he gives him, a little bit of privilege and gives him an out when he should be holding him accountable more than anybody else, right? As your son, which I know he gets on. I'm sure he says things to him, but it just doesn't seem like it resonates with him, especially when you say you come out there to the media and you're throwing your whole offensive line under the bus, right? Or how you carrying yourself, right? Or is it a good look to be driving around, whatever car that you got in front of your teammates and making like you're holier than thou. You're bigger than everybody else. And so I do believe that there should be a better way handling that. That's me. That's my thought, opinion-wise. But I think somehow the narrative is being pushed that he's a first-round pick. They throwing him out there, as a son should do, right? As a father should do for his son. Like, hey, man, look, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, what else is he supposed to say? He's going to say what? He's the worst thing out there, right? The thing he's got to go out there week in and week out, and he's got to show it. And so sometimes you got to do it with decorum. You got to do it with cool. You got to be able to, the way that you walk to people, you got to command attention. You got to have leadership and responsibility. Those things are important. Those are important. And so it does seem like sometimes they abscond responsibility when you're putting other people under the bus and you're sitting there saying, well, it wasn't really my fault. Okay. It was somebody else's fault and somebody else needed to get their game together. Well, what about your accountability? What did you do wrong? Okay. If you're learning from Tom Brady's coming to help you out. Some of that stuff should have rubbed off on you how Tom Brady is and how he handles things. Okay. There's a balance there. And so I think a lot of that, man, is just, it seemed like there's a lot of arrogance and ego, which we know what's Deion. He's egotistical, right? But he's great. He backs it up. That's why he called him prime. He was prime time. Okay. He's one dude, if he talk noise to you, he can back it up for sure. sometimes we see now, sometimes kids and everybody out here right now are talking a lot of smack, man. They just can't back it up. I'm sorry.
I think he's more prime rib now.
Say prime rib.
Oh, that's way too generous.
Yeah.
You like those prime rib burgers over there at Miller's Ale House?
I do. And Deion Sanders was nowhere near that level either.
Well, look, but so I'm sitting there saying this, right? So Deion has a chance and opportunity, okay, to kind of right this ship, okay? And the first thing he should go out there to the media and say, I'm going to hold my son accountable for some of his bad play. I'm going to hold my son accountable for talking about his offensive line like this. That's not a leader. That's not the way he should act. So if you're supposed to be a first-round pick and I'm propping you up as that, okay, you got to carry yourself that way. I got to carry yourself that way. So I don't know what what needs to be done, but I tell you this, if you don't win, he ain't going to be a first-round pick. That's bottom line. That's the way it works, pure and simple.
Well, knowing that there's not many quarterbacks in this class and what they're saying about, and everybody's like blowing this kid up like he's the next thing, like you said, sliced bread. But guess what? I don't like sliced bread. I like cheese. And my cheese is I like Gouda, and he doesn't taste like Gouda. So in my opinion, he's a third-round draft pick. That's just me. And good luck on anybody that takes a chance on him. Maybe he's a cheap piece of American cheese. Okay, so enjoy that American cheese or whatever it is. Make sure that it's yellow because I don't like that white American cheese. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're overshooting. I do. I think they're overshooting the first round pick. I don't know if he's first round material.
No, he could be a second round draft pick.
He could be a second round draft pick. Yeah,
and then maybe he turns out to be a good. I just don't think he has it. I think personally, I think as a quarterback, and I'm not a quarterback, so I have never played quarterback. I did play corner. I was a wide receiver, and I never played in Division I. I was a pretty good hockey player, so I know what it takes to be great. Okay, hard work and dedication, and realize being a leader and taking responsibility, and that's something that he doesn't do a very good job of, and that has a lot to do with Deion Sanders, because if you don't remember Deion Sanders when he played for the Cowboys, at the end of his Cowboys career, who was he blaming and pointing fingers at? He wasn't pointing fingers at himself. He was pointing fingers at the coaching, the quarterback play, and how old we are, and it's time to go. So Deion Sanders, as much as I respect him as a player, and I do, for all the fans out there to think that I'm a racist and I hate him, I do not hate Deion Sanders. I actually love him. When you take the responsibility to go out there and be the coach of boys, like you said, not men, and teach them the right way of handling things, you're not doing it. You're not. And Jason, you are a coach. You're out there and you're doing the best that you possibly can and letting them learn the discipline and understanding the game so they can be better pros or they can be better fathers and sons when they get out of school. He's not doing it. I'm sorry. It's not selling me, and losing and then pointing fingers. That doesn't make any sense either. It shows me that he's a sore loser. So, and losing is part of the game, as we all know.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're saying, what I'm understanding is you think Deion has been allowing this to happen probably all his life. So, why would he act any different? This is what he's known. So you never had to really take responsibility for anything. And I've heard him say, like, he's the guy, he's the dude, right? Because that's what Deion says. He always says, he's the guy, he's the one. Okay, well, coach him up, coach. But also, being a father, teach him what he's supposed to do. His responsibility. So I agree with it. I mean, we got a huge responsibility as coaches, man, to make sure kids are acting the way they're supposed to act, right? Carry themselves the way they're supposed to carry themselves. And it is about accountability, responsibility. It is about those things. And so those values, man, translate not just on the field, but off the field too, right? So I agree with you. I do agree with you.
I just look at the game, and I'm not a coach, and I'm a sports guy. I sit here, and there are things that I look at, and I understand people don't like what I have to say, and I hope they hate me, because in this business, it's better to be hated than loved. But I speak the truth. Just because I'm a fan of a team, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, well, the Jets will play better next year. They'll play better this. I'm going to tell you the truth. You know,
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Deion Sanders is doing the right thing and helping his sons or even the future of some of these kids in Henry, who I think is going to be a stud in the NFL, the NFL. And him come out and say, losing is for losers and winning is for winners. That doesn't sell to me. And if I'm a parent and I want my kid to go and play for Deion Sanders, I don't want to hear that from his mouth. I want to say, you know what? I'm going to teach these boys how to win, but also be good, sore losers.
Absolutely. Now, well said. Well said. Sometimes you start hearing these guys when they leave from Colorado that these things come out, or maybe how they was treated, or, maybe they were just like shown the door, with no type of respect, so I don't know, man. I just know right now Colorado is struggling. Somehow they got to do something to right the ship. And the only one that's going to be able to do it, well, actually, there's two people that can do it. It's Deion and his son. So he's got a great staff, man. Those guys got to get together. I hate to see it because you got NFL guys that's out there coaching, and you can't get a team like Colorado to win. Come on.
You know what I do? I have the best idea. You ready to hear this?
Yeah.
I would get Shakur Sanders on the middle, the middle of the field on the 50-yard line. I'd bend him over and I'd say, okay, guys, who do you want to kick him in the ass? Okay. You could pick anybody on this team. You get one fresh kick in Shador's ass. And I get the field goal kicker and let him give him a nice little knocker, and then, Shador maybe will open up his eyes and hopefully have his balls at the end of it,
Hey, actually, what you can do, I'm telling you, here's the real thing. You can go in and team meeting, tell everybody to blindfold themselves and say, hold your hand up, you want to kick him in his tail. And I guarantee there'll be some hands going up. I promise you'll be some hands going up. So
there's another option too. See, Deion Sanders a couple weeks ago, we were talking about them taking NIL money from Saudi Arabia, which, by the way, has those soccer leagues in Saudi Arabia are getting some pretty good soccer players. Maybe we'll get one of them to do it.
Oh.
Gas prices going down, baby. Thank you to Deion Sanders. Oh, man, Deion, he was the talk of this show. I mean, he has been great. We love Deion. And Jason, we love what you're doing right now in Kentucky State. We really appreciate the time. And by the way, we'd love to get you on again. We'd love to get you on. You were a great interview. You should do this. I think you could be really, really good at analyzing things and stuff like. You are fantastic. And I'm not trying to blow your head up. Okay, I'm not trying to blow it. Even though if you want me to, I can pump it up. I got some air. A lot of it. Speedy's got definitely a lot of air.
No, that's the Patriots. They love to pump air into things.
That's true too. I mean, actually, they like to deflate things.
Look, we do a little bit of it, with Chief Concerns obviously out there, man, doing our podcast, and giving the people the kingdom, Chief's kingdom a little bit of what we know. And so we just pull the curtains back, talk to them a little bit. We like talking about truth too. There's some things that we might say that's a little contentious, but for us, man. From a player's perspective, I'm going to give them the real. I'm going to tell them exactly how things are done, what happens around, behind the scene, what coaches actually talk about, what coaches speak really is, when they come to the media, like, oh, golly shucks. No, that's not what they mean. They mean something else totally different. We can kind of get down to it. So, but it's been a blast, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have to definitely come back. I'm going to definitely come back, man. I've enjoyed it, man.
We enjoy you, and just make sure when you pull down the curtains, you make sure that DeShaun Watson's not hiding on the other side, okay?
Crazy.
And maybe it's Robert Kraft. He could give you a couple mil.
Oh, man. Goodness. Oh, man.
Oh, man. Jason Dunn, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. Great interview, by the way. He's fantastic. He really is. I can't lie. You are.
Appreciate it.
Really, really great. And I want you to come back on, by the way. Absolutely. During the football season. Kentucky State's very own Jason Dunn. Round of applause, Speedy. Round of applause, Speedy. Come on, let's get it. Let's get it, boys. Let's get it. Get it done. Tom Brady.
Right.
Eat your heart
Oh,
out.
I see what you did there.
Oh, what? That's right. Wow, you finally figured it out.
All right, fellas, man. It was all real, man. Look, y'all have a good night. Okay. I'll check y'all later, man. Earl Speedy, man. It was a great time. All right,
Hey,
y'all brothers do good. All right.
Jason
Yeah.
Dunn away. Dunner, as we all know, he's not done, but he's ready to be done. Right, Speedy? Are you ready to be done?
He's ready to be done.
I think you need to be done. I think you need to give it to be done. Give it to be done. Done.
Go share a Poo-Tang pie with The Rock.
I would love to share a Poo-Tang pie with The Rock, ladies and gentlemen.
Then you enjoy.
Well, somebody's going to enjoy. I'll tell you somebody.
Enjoy.
It's somebody that might do an enjoyment or not be enjoyed right now, and that's Jordan Love, who suffered a sprained MCL at the end of the Packers' Week 1 loss against the Eagles and is expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Took a hit with his leg by defensive tackle Jalen Carter, not surprised, and was able to walk off with his assistant and trainers. Matt LaFleur announced that the Packers will not put Love on a short-term IR, which would have put him officially out for 4 weeks. LaFleur said that Malik Willis, who they just traded for 2 weeks ago, will be starting quarterback for the with 5th round draft pick Sean Clifford as the backup. There also have been rumors that the Packers having interest in Ryan Tannehill because of the connection with LaFleur in Tennessee. The Packers play the Colts, the Titans, the Vikings, the Rams in the next 4 weeks. Oh, my God. There's a lot. And by the way, we will get into that game quickly because there's only 2 words for you. Actually, there's one word for you, one name for you that really stood out in that Eagles game, and that is Mr. Barkley. That's all I'm going to say for all you Giant fans. Joe Shane. Oh, by the way, we can win without Saquon Barkley. I don't know. I've been telling everybody that this will be the biggest mistake of the Giants' season, not signing Saquon Barkley. Well, who was right about that? As Saquon Barkley puts up 100 yards, puts up 3 touchdowns, and looks like he's sail away, take me away. I don't know if I'm going to be taken away, but as an Eagle fan, as a second, my second favorite team, as a Donovan McNabb fan, Saquon Barkley, 24 carries, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns, only tells me one thing, that Saquon Barkley is the real deal. A.J. Brown still had 5 receptions for 119 yards, and Devontae Smith, 7 receptions for 84 yards. I mean, he spread the ball out. Jalen Hurts did not look good. I understand 2 interceptions. That will change as the season moves forward. It's the first game of the season. What I can say is they actually have a real running back. And I'm not saying Swift isn't a good running back, but he is a real running back. And he could go up for Offensive Player of the Year. Not because Michael Parsons says, because when Michael Parsons speaks, it usually is wrong, a.k.a. Zach Wilson. But I will say this. To lose Jordan Love for 4 to 6 weeks, it's bad. It's bad. Thank God they didn't miss him, or they're not going to miss him for the season. But for 4 to 6 weeks in a division with the Lions, with Minnesota, and Chicago, Caleb Williams didn't even throw a touchdown in the game. They won that game. That tells me one thing. Chicago is a good defense, and they have players. They have playmakers. When Caleb Williams figures things out and the speed of the game, I think Chicago could be as dangerous as any team in the NFL. But nevertheless, Jordan Love, who a lot of people drafted in the 5th and 6th round, who some people think was going to put up close to 5,000 yards and put up about 35 to 40 touchdowns, to lose him for 6 weeks is a complete loss. And this team going into week 2, week 3, week 4 against teams that they should beat are not the favorites. And I'm not saying Malik Willis is not going to find a way to be a decent quarterback in the league. He is not Jordan Love. He's not. And even though I think Matt LaFleur is a good quarterback coach, because we saw what he did with Jordan Love, who started off the season last year not that good, and going into the second season actually looked pretty good and was probably the hottest quarterback going to the playoffs and almost knocked off the 49ers to go into the NFC title game against the Lions. Right now, they have to run the ball. Josh Jacobs needs to stay healthy. 16 carries for 84 yards is not enough. He needs to be fed the ball, feed the beast, and give him the ball as much as they possibly can. This offensive line needs to block for him. They need to open up the field so Malik Willis can make some short passes, doesn't have to go out there and throw 70, 60-yard passes to win games. If you have a good running game and your defense is playing at the top of their level and at the top of the game, they can win at least 3 of these games. If they can win 3 games and go even 3-4 in the games that they're missing Jordan Love, they can make the playoffs. They have to win 3 games out of the next 6 weeks. If they don't, it's going to be very, very hard. The NFC is wide open. There's no question that it is. But Tampa showing up in game 1 and putting up the numbers that they did with Baker Mayfield, 4 touchdowns and the way he did it, and that defense showing up, it's kind of scary. And by the way, the Saints look pretty good in week 1 too, even though I think their coach is on the hot seat. There's a lot of teams, and I don't think Atlanta's that bad. So I don't know, but this is a team that should make the playoffs, and losing Jordan Love is a colossal loss. And I think it feeds me to believe that Malik Willis doesn't need to be elite. He just needs to show up and feed the ball to the beast himself, Josh Jacobs. And if he can do that and he can play as well as I believe he could, they can win 3 games.
Yeah, the reason that a lot of people had the Packers not only being a surefire playoff team, but some people had them winning the division over the Lions was the way Jordan Love played in the second half. So they need to really make sure that they can try to win these games in other ways to just try to stay afloat. Because maybe if Jordan Love is healthy in those 4-game span anyway, maybe they lose to the Rams anyway, maybe they lose to the Colts anyway. It's possible.
Maybe they win out.
Maybe. But either way, like the Packers defense and the Packers offensive line still has some issues that they have to figure out in order to make this team consistent, because Josh Jacobs was a very inefficient runner in the first game against the Eagles. This was an Eagles run defense that struggled last year and has a new defensive coordinator.
We all know about struggling, aka the Jets.
Yeah,
So.
and again, some of that had to do with Josh McDaniels' horrible coaching last year with the Raiders, and Josh Jacobs was an inefficient runner last year too. But the Raiders' offensive line was actually pretty good, and the Packers' offensive line is not much different than what the Raiders are right now. So they have to find something in that regard to make it work. And the same kind of thing with these receivers. They have to continue to be creative with the way they were using with Dobbs and Jaden Reed in that Eagles game. It wasn't always the Jordan Love deep bombs that were winning the Packers offense in the first half. It was the way Jaden Reed was being used running, and Dobbs was used running a lot of the time. So they have to be creative in that regard in order to win these games, because you're right. There's enough teams in the NFC that still have a lot of good depth. I had the Packers as a fringe playoff team, making it out a tiebreaker over the Bucks and the Rams. And now the Bucks, who look really good in week 1, the Rams, who still look good even though they lost in week 1, they probably have the advantage now. So the Packers are going to have to do it in other ways. And the Titans and the Colts and the Vikings are no shoeing over here. The Vikings beat you with a backup quarterback last year. What doesn't mean they can't do it again? And Tennessee didn't allow an offensive touchdown.
All right, let's bring the boys in. I will go through some of the games. I'll give you my opinion. We'll ask each and every one of them. They don't have to go. We don't have to go through them for each and every other game, but I will get into it, my thoughts, and we'll pick a game and we'll let them speak about it. Kansas City and Baltimore. And Thursday Night Football, we were at Miller's Ale House. We got a chance to watch it live. I will say this. If you're a Kansas City Chief fan, you should be very excited with Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy is the real deal. 2 touchdowns in the game. If you drafted him in your fantasy league, good luck, because you have a chance to get 12 to 13 touchdowns. I think he has 1,200 yards. I believe he'll have 1,200 yards when they figure things out. And the one thing that I said all season long is they have to find a running game. I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to give him that. And I think Patrick Mahomes, even though he didn't have one of his best games, 20 for 28, 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And by the way, for all you Travis Kelce fans and Taylor Swift fans, Travis Kelce looked very old in that game. I know everybody's going to say it's the game number 1, but he didn't look like the Travis Kelce we remember, and he is not breaking 1,000 yards this year. That's all I'm going to say about that. Baltimore needs to show up at the final part of the game and actually keep Likely's feet in. I disagree. I think that should have counted. I would have loved to see an overtime. I think Baltimore wins in overtime. Lamar Jackson needs to make some easy throws, and get him into the pockets. And by the way, get Mark Andrews involved. I have no idea what they were doing in the game. Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in football. He finally got back to 100%, and you didn't give him the ball one time. Doesn't make any sense. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it was bad coaching that cost the Ravens again. Scoops, we were joking about it at Miller's Ale House. Like, there were 4 illegal formation penalties in a game. That says a lot with the Ravens, and they couldn't get Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews involved. Like, I think that's a big problem when you look at it. The defensive coaching I did not really like either. They never made adjustments to Xavier Worthy, and if the Ravens are going to have these issues, they're going to have issues all season.
And I will say this, Rashee Rice had a good game. I mean, hey, as long as he doesn't drive in cars and, go 100 miles per hour and crash them and beat up photographers, hey, Rashee Rice can do whatever the hell he wants on a football field. So, I mean, if you're a Rashee Rice, owner in fantasy football, you should be very happy, even though he didn't have a touchdown. 7 receptions for 103 yards. It looks like he's the number 1 target right now for your friend, Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, get this.
Well, I hope you're wrong, Errol, about Travis Kelce, because I kind of went all in on a 3-peat by the Chiefs, taking Mahomes and Kelce everywhere in my fantasy league. So if I could, at least one of them. And Kelce, he was fine. They just don't need him as much as they used to. And that's why I don't know if he'll get to the 1,000 yards. And let's say maybe he's a little bit slower, but at the same time, he's still so good. He runs those option routes. He can get open still better than anyone at the tight end position. And now you have Worthy with the speed. I mean, on that end around, you saw it. That was crazy. That he shouldn't have been able to score on that. He was that fast. That's a whole nother thing to worry about. Rice, another year better. I mean, this is a team that's better than last year, and they won the Super Bowl last year.
By the way, there's a fly
Go ahead.
flying around in the studio. He's bugging the shit out of me. Excuse my language, but he is. He's bugging the hell out of me. How the hell am I supposed to concentrate? I'm sorry. There you go. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sure Isaiah Likely having size 16 shoes is what's bugging the Ravens fans right now with not being able to stay in. That guy had himself a game. If I started him, I would have won fantasy this week in all 22.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
He had a 91 rating in PFF. He was that good, and he didn't stay in. If he stayed in, it probably would have been like 100. It was he's really good. And look, Andrews, I don't know if he's 100%. You said he might be 100. He's definitely playing. Doesn't mean he's 100%. Had that car accident. So it might take him a little bit longer. But if you have Likely on the other side, it's really more about an offense getting too cute with Lamar Jackson. If you have 4 formation penalties in the first week of the season, what does that tell you? That tells you that's a team that's trying to do too much. You got to do your bread and butter. You got to go to the formations that make Lamar successful and run those plays. Don't they got too cute against the Chiefs, and you don't need to do that. Just run your plays. No one can stop Lamar if you do.
All right, so let's get into the Cardinals, and I'll ask Scoops his opinion after my opinion and yours, Speedy, and we'll let Fish. We'll kind of zigzag through this. The Cardinals game was very interesting, and the Cardinals just dominated the first half. Absolutely dominated the first half. Kyler Murray, it looked like Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals were just going to run away with the game. And it was the tale of 2 halves because I don't know what happened. I'll tell you what happened. Josh Allen is what happened. It made me sick to my stomach. And Josh Allen, 18 for 23, 232 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's not crazy numbers. What was crazy was Josh Allen and the way he ran the ball in the game. 9 carries, 39 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It absolutely destroyed me. It made me sick to my stomach. I have no idea what was going on in the Cardinals defense. Now, I know the Cardinals defense is not expected to be good this year. And by the way, for all the Keon Coleman haters, I don't know, 4 receptions, 51 yards. I mean, it wasn't a breakout game, but it looks like Keon Coleman actually is a lot better than people thought he was. Shakir actually, or Shakur, whatever the hell he calls himself, 1 touchdown, 42 yards. Looks like he's the go-to man for this team. I don't know what the Buffalo Bills are, but I do know what the Arizona Cardinals are. They're all offense, no defense. And John Connor looked like he exploded. Kyler Murray needs to open up his eyes. Stop talking. Oh, I killed that mother. Got him. Look at that. What happened here? There we go. I got it. Look at that. He's dead. I got that.
You're like Miyagi over there.
I killed the bug, baby.
No, he didn't do it with chopsticks.
No, I got my hands. I caught it. That's good luck, baby. That's good luck. Speedy, I don't want to grab your balls. Okay? I'm staying away from it. But I killed the bug. He's gone. He's dead. Let's not. Exactly. But yeah, it was a tale of 2 tapes. Buffalo, obviously, Josh Allen. Josh Allen took over the game, and the defense actually showed up in the second half. And a secondary that we thought wasn't much of a secondary actually showed up in the second half and actually played pretty well. So Buffalo wins a game that they should win. We'll see what happens when they have to play one of these big teams and actually have to play on all three facets of the game. They didn't do it in this game, but they did enough because of Josh Allen.
Yeah, the Cardinals defense, like you said, is talent deficient, but they had a good game plan in the first half of shutting down Dalton Kincaid. He was being bracketed a lot of the game, and I think they knew that Josh Allen was going
They
to
didn't throw him the ball.
Because he was being bracketed, very well covered by Budda Baker and a couple of the other young linebackers. yes. Bracketed very well, and I think that made Josh Allen rattled in the first half. He was holding the ball a little longer than he should have, and in the second half, he started to be able to adjust more. He ran the ball better, and like you said, spread the ball around to Coleman and Shakir. James Conner was a pest against the Bills defense, but the Bills defensive line got it going in the second half, and then eventually just dominated the line of scrimmage.
How about don't open your mouth and say that Kincaid is your number one guy, and then maybe he wasn't blanketed. I just big mistake. Anyways, Scoops, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. Errol, going back to what you were saying in the beginning, I don't know what happened in this game. I mean, the Cardinals were up big, and then you turn the TV off or turn it to another game, and boom, there we are.
I was taking a dump, and I was like, "Oh, Kyler Murray's going to put." It's everything with the dump with me. By the way, I went to the bathroom 6 times in this game, and I was probably sick enough to go a sixth time at the end of the game. I wasn't very happy. Okay. By the way, I killed that bug. I'm just wanted to let you know that.
But yeah, I don't know what happened here with the Cardinals defense. They were playing really well on all sides of the ball. I mean, what's it called? Even if you look at in the beginning, James Conner, I thought was playing really well for the team. And basically, I don't know what happened. Like I said, the defense just fell apart completely. They let Josh Allen get too hot. They let him go in and everything. And my thing with Josh Allen too, on top of that, is he also first game back after having Stephon Diggs out of Buffalo. I thought he actually passed the ball pretty well. He got it to a lot of different targets. Yeah, he got it to multiple different targets on a few of his guys over here, over 32 yards receiving wise. So I thought pretty good win for the Bills. I don't know what happened with the Cardinals. So yeah.
I will say this. I watched the Chicago Bears game. I was on and off with them, and I was impressed with the comeback. They were down, I think, 17-3 at one point. It looked like the game was a complete blowout, and then I don't know what Tennessee did. I think they fell asleep, or they were having a nightmare, because it wasn't Caleb Williams putting up the numbers. He was 14 for 29, 93 yards. He didn't show up. He's the first rookie quarterback to win his first game and not throw over 100 yards or even a touchdown. Okay. It is impressive what the Chicago Bears did defensively. Absolutely dominated the second half, completely shut down a team that was expected to run the ball all over the Chicago Bears defense. Very, very impressed. DeAndre Swift didn't have one of those games that you could brag about, but nevertheless, I'll tell you guys that did have pretty good games, and it wasn't because of the scoring. It was all the defense. Roma Dunze, 1 reception, 11 yards. Keenan Allen, 4 receptions, 29 yards. DJ Moore, 5 receptions, 36 yards. None of their wide receivers had a touchdown. None of them. It was all the defense, baby. It was all the defense, and that is what made it impressive. And by the way, the special teams was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And Eberflus, you stink. It had nothing to do with you, and you're going to get fired if this kid doesn't figure things out. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I was very impressed. This team is, I wouldn't say for real, but I will say this: this team has heart and soul, and I think we could be very impressed with some of the different statures of this defense. I think this defense is a lot better than anybody thought they were going to be.
Yeah, the Titans defense, I'll give them a lot of credit too. They made some off-season acquisitions, a whole new scheme all at once, transforming it from Mike Vrabel, and they played very well in this game. We were talking about earlier, the Giants were one of 2 teams that didn't have an offensive touchdown. The Bears were the other one, and against that group of skill players, you got to give Tennessee a lot of credit. I think Brian Callahan, that first game that he's coached, even on the offensive side, he looked pretty good we mentioned running the ball. They were efficient running the ball in that first half. If DeAndre Hopkins was healthy, and Calvin Ridley learning a new scheme too, maybe that makes a difference at the Titans. When this game, Tennessee definitely outplayed Chicago in that game. Very fluky.
Doesn't matter. They lost.
Fluky win for the Bears. Matt Eberflus, you're right, should not be proud of that whatsoever.
Fish, your thoughts?
Well, Brian Callahan's dad's a legendary O-line coach and is coaching with them over there. So I think that's really something to remind yourself. This is a really good coach. And the problem that they have right there isn't their defense. Their problem is they have a bunch of fans and front office people who have talked themselves into Will Levis the same way I talked myself into Daniel Jones a couple of years ago. He's not the guy. He is the same level of nothing special as Daniel Jones is. I think they're tying themselves to the wrong guy. The Bears exposed him, I thought, a little bit in this game. I don't think he's very good. I think that's going to be the issue. Tony Pollard ran for a touchdown. He ran pretty well. Wasn't the run game's fault. Wasn't the line's fault. It was on the QB. And I think that's really the issue. Is the Bears defense that good? We'll find out in the future, because if it's not, then Levis is really trash.
Well, we have a lot of games to go through. Let's do this as quick as we possibly can. New England and the Bengals. Surprise. Nobody would have thought that the Bengals were going to lose this game. New England actually went to Cincinnati and beat the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't. Now, obviously, T. Higgins didn't play. He was doubtful, and he didn't play. It did affect their offense, but that's not an excuse. Joe Burrow for 21 for 29, 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but didn't do enough in the game. This guy is one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, and you played up a lousy goose egg. You have to show up week in and week out. You don't start the season like you've been doing, losing the first 3 or 4, or keeping these games close in 3 or 4 games, and then making excuses at the end of the season that you could have been the best team in the AFC if you started the season strong. There's no excuse. The Patriots, I got to give them a lot of credit. They didn't do much, but they did enough, and the defense actually played well. I was very impressed with this defense. They showed up. Gonzalez is the real deal. Stopping Jamar Chase the way he did in the game. Jamar Chase did not have a good game. 6 receptions, 62 yards. That's not Jamar Chase-esque. I would have expected Jamar Chase to have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't show up in the game, or maybe Gonzalez is just really that good. And the Patriots, it really was the matter of running the game, running the ball the way they did with Ramon Stevenson, who's a fantastic runner, 25 carries, 120 yards, and 1 touchdown. Impressive. Very impressive win for the New England Patriots. What was expected to go 0-1 in the first game of the season. Well, they're 1-0.
Well, yeah, Jamar Chase, like you said, is rusty. And Zach Taylor, head coach, should have known that kind of thing. And he was the one that was like, oh, he's going to practice with us. And then he never ended up practicing. And he still hasn't signed his contract. And you have to be able to adjust to that kind of thing. You know he's rusty. Get some other guys involved. Have better game plans than you did against a rookie coach in Gerard Mayo. Yes, the Patriots have a talented defense. This is a rookie coach. And you got badly outcoached by a rookie coach. Robert Saleh has the hottest seat in the AFC. You're not far behind at this rate.
All right, Mr. Scoops, what do you got?
Yeah, the Patriots defense definitely showed up this game right when it needed to the most. And very surprising, very, very so. I mean, nobody thought the Bengals were actually going to lose this game. I mean, in Cincinnati, too, with a returning Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase finally coming back after a very hectic and very dramatic offseason. But, yeah, that's no excuse for the Bengals, the way that they played, the way they did. Zach Moss, he ran okay. But, I mean, the main thing of Joe Burrow, he didn't throw the ball too well. 29 passes for the entire game is pretty pathetic compared to what we've also seen from Joe Burrow throughout his entire career in the NFL. And, Jamar Chase, like you were saying, Speedy, I don't think it was very wise to have the man come back or, to not realize that the man has a lot of rust, considering that he really didn't practice this past season. His chemistry is definitely off with the rest of the team, not just with Joe Burrow, but for the rest of the team, the rest of his receivers. So, kudos to the Patriots and their defense. And like you said, Speedy, Gerard Mayo being an excellent coach in his first debut game. So
the game that really stuck out to me, or really didn't stick out to me much of anything, was the Carolina Panthers game. Carolina is really still that bad. I don't know what more to say. Bryce Young, 13 for 30, 161 yards, 2 interceptions. I couldn't do anything. Miles Sanders couldn't run the ball. I mean, whoever was running the ball couldn't run the ball. Adam Thielen actually had a pretty good day. He's still the number one, as far as I'm concerned, the number 1 wide receiver. 3 receptions for 49 yards. Jonathan Mingo, again, did not show up in the game. I'll tell you who did show up in the game. Mr. Shaheed, who had 3 receptions, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Fun to watch. Alvin Kamara, 15 carries, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. And by the way, all those Derek Carr haters, when he was in the game, 19 for 23, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Looked pretty damn good to me. The Saints, we'll see what this defense is going to do all season. It is the Carolina Panthers. But I think the Saints are a lot better than people think this year. So kudos to them.
Yeah, they're talented on defense. Their offense was always my question mark with them because they have Olave, they have Kamara, and like you said, Shaheed finally broke out on a consistent
number
basis.
1 wide receiver on that team.
We'll see. Yeah, thank you, Chris Olave, for your 3.1 fantasy points this week. Oh, God. But nevertheless, like the offensive line, which was so good for years with the Saints, was really bad last year, and it still looked not great in this game, but it didn't matter because the Panthers just don't have much after trading Brian Burns. Derek Brown, unfortunately, now out for the year, too. But the Saints, I mean, they got the win. They blew out a team that they're better than, but we'll see if it actually matters.
Fish, you're on mute.
Low fantasy point total also from Deontay Johnson, Speedy, another one of those guys that people were looking at as being a little bit more valuable on the Panthers side of things. I think the real issue has always been with the Saints is since they got Carr is the same thing that we saw with him. He was having an MVP level season until he broke his leg all those years ago, and he's never been the same guy because of health. If Carr can stay healthy, it's a different story for that Saints team than they had last year. This is a guy that just needs to stay healthy. He needs to be protected. He's a real gamer. He's a tough guy. He's a real football player. It's just he's kind of been glass for a long time. So if he could stay healthy, a team like the Panthers, they're going for the first overall pick again. Canales has got a lot of work to do to try to fix that offense. Bryce Young at year 2, that's really a problem over there, guys. No one foresaw this whatsoever.
No, especially the Alabama fans, as we know. Anyways, the Chargers, Raiders, well, that was expected, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, was it. 22-10. The Chargers did not have a good game, okay? By the way, Justin Herbert did not play well. 17 for 26, 144 yards and 1 touchdown. It didn't stand. J.K. Dobbins is the one that really stood out to me. Coming back from another tear in his ACL, no problem for J.K. Dobbins. 10 carries for 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 13.5 a carry. Fantastic. This offensive line, we all expected the Chargers offensive line to be beastly. Alt on one side, Slater on the other. Played very well defending, and they can run the ball. They ran the ball at will in this game, and that's why they won. The defense actually played well, too, in the game, throughout the game. The Raiders, I don't know. Gardner Minshew actually did pretty well, 25 for 33. As 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 257 yards. Zamir White, 13 carries, 44 yards. I mean, definitely above average, but not good enough. And if you have Jacoby Myers, I almost said Jacoby and Myers, but Jacoby Myers, 3 receptions, 61 yards to be your leader, it spells bad, bad, bad. Devontae Adams, 5 receptions, 59 yards, no touchdowns. If you don't have Devontae Adams involved with it, it means trouble. And I'm going to tell you right now, Devontae Adams is going to be asking his way out very, very soon. So open up your checkbooks, New York.
And open up your eyes, Luke Getsy, because that is a horribly coached game plan that he had. Zamir White, like you mentioned, he was kind of inefficient as a runner. He got it going a little bit in the second half, but they had to realize they had to use him in other ways. Alexander Madison, they tried to spell him out at certain points, but it just wasn't going to work. When you had a game plan for Devontae Adams, like the Chargers did, I'll give the defensive coaching some credit there, even though they're not overly talented. They have to be able to adjust to other things. Bowers played well. I was impressed with him, but like you were saying, the Chargers offensive line is what really dominated this game. Joe Alt probably had as good of a rookie debut as you'll ever see. He had 0 pressures allowed against Max Crosby. That's what won them the game.
Scoops, what do you got?
Yeah, so Gardner Minshew really is the only bright light that actually happened this game for the Raiders. I mean, he got going early with his receivers. You know, I saw a few connections with his guys that looked pretty good early in the game, but then there was a certain point that he threw an interception, wasn't really connecting that well at all toward the game. So, I mean, there's a big thing about the Chargers defense. You know, the Chargers defense, I feel like played pretty well in this game. You know, that was a really big selling point. And J.K. Dobbins, the way he ran, especially coming off of how injury-riddled he was over in the Ravens. So I got to give it to them. Their running game and their defenses will win them that game.
I think the bright spot for the Raiders was Brock Bowers. That's just my opinion. He actually had 59 yards, six receptions. I think they got to get a little bit more involved and get him more involved in the offense. I think it'll open up the field for Devontae Adams. He looked pretty good when he was on the field. So I think it was Brock Bowers that really was the only thing that stood out to me so far in week 1 for the Raiders. That's about it, because everybody was questioning, the whole thought of bringing in 2 tight ends back-to-back years in the first and second round. But it looks like Brock Bowers is the real deal. Seattle and the Broncos. Well, there's a lot, but I'm not going to get into a lot in this game. Sean Payton, he actually coached pretty well in this game. I was very surprised that the game was as close as it was. Bo Nix did not have a good game, okay? I'm just going to say that. 26 for 42, 138 yards and 2 interceptions is not a good game. I'm not going to cry about this because Bo Nix actually ran in for a touchdown and actually in the second half played better than he did in the first half, okay? That's just my opinion. It's going to take a little while for this kid to develop, but I want to see more of Javonte Williams. I don't know what's going on. Why aren't they running the ball and feeding him the beast? It doesn't make any sense. Josh Reynolds, we know what he did for the Lions last year. If he's leading as far as your wide receiver and Cortland Sutton isn't, it tells me one thing. They don't know what they're doing. Or they don't have a number one guy or a true number one guy. As far as the Seahawks are concerned, well, Kenneth Walker is a beast. We all know what he is. 20 carries, 103 yards and 1 touchdown. And Tyler Lockett actually showed up in the game as well. What is going on with DK Metcalf? And don't give me, and I understand Patrick Surtain's on the field. DK, you say you're one of the elite wide receivers in the league. Go out there and beat Patrick Surtain. You didn't. And honestly, you were lucky to win this game. And I'm sorry, Geno Smith did not have one of those good games because he didn't look good. So that's just my opinion. They were very lucky to win this game and come out a winner.
Yeah, the very average performance overall with the Seahawks. I think they still have some issues in the trenches both ways.
And McDonald made some bad mistakes as a coach.
They were missing some offensive linemen, obviously, but their offensive line still wasn't as good as they could have been on the interior. And their defensive line, which they kind of fixed in the offseason a little bit, but then they lost their top pass rusher with Nwosu. They had to make some adjustments there. I don't think they did it well enough there, but they did do well stopping the run, like you were saying. Javonte Williams did not really have a great game in that one. And they did well against a Broncos offensive line that has some good players, but I still think it's kind of a mediocre team, Seattle, right now. I had them 7-10 at the start of the year, and they kind of showed that.
Fish.
Well, I hopped on the pick a defense for the weekend and took Seattle this weekend because I just figured rookie quarterback first week. There's no way he's going to be good, and that's basically what happened. I do think Surtain is just that good, man. Like Surtain is able to lock down a guy like DK Metcalf, who's a power speed guy. He might not be the best route runner. He's not a bad route runner. He's just not Surtain level. You're not going to be able to fake out Surtain. You know what I mean? So it's just really an impressive job by some guys to make this a little bit closer than it was, despite the fact that we really didn't have really great offensive play. So for me, if I'm a Broncos fan, I think this is, a good learning experience for Bo Nix. I think that the defense is much improved from where it was a year ago. So, you got to trust Peyton in the process. It's just going to take a while. He always likes his guys. That's why Javonte Williams was drafted before Peyton was there. Don't expect him to get the ball. He was a big faller in fantasy drafts, Javonte Williams, because people are like, Peyton, I don't know if Peyton's going to go with him. They like this other kid, McLaughlin. It really could be one of these things where Peyton just wants his guys. And until he gets them, it's going to be kind of rocky over there offensively.
Oh, the Commanders and the Buccaneers. So we know what the Commanders are. We didn't know what the Buccaneers are. And the guy that really showed up once again, I think had the best week out of all the quarterbacks, and that is Baker Mayfield. 24 for 30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Baker actually even ran for 3 rushing carries for 21 yards. Baker was very impressive. And Mike Evans didn't have 100 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. Thank you, Mike Evans, for giving me those touchdowns. I needed them. I was just very impressed with this offense. This defense showed up. We know what they are defensively. We didn't know what they are offensively without Canales there. Canales goes over there to the Panthers, and they didn't look too good. It didn't matter who the offensive coordinator is because Baker Mayfield, I think, has figured things out, and he is looking like the best quarterback. I wouldn't say the best quarterback, but one of the better quarterbacks in that class. I mean, that was a pretty good class. You have, obviously, Jackson, Josh Allen, and him now. Who would have thought that? Everybody thought Rosen and Darnold. It's very impressive what Baker Mayfield is doing right now. I've been a Baker Mayfield supporter. I want to see Baker Mayfield continue with his success. Just amazing. And the Commanders, a lot of questions. I do like what I saw with Jaden Daniels. Okay, he's young, 17 for 24, 184 yards. I think out of all the rookie quarterbacks, he looked the best. So that says a lot. Not much, but enough. And by the way, he ran for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we'll see what Jaden Daniels is. I think if there's anybody that can figure things out, it's Kingsbury. I think Kingsbury will figure this out with this kid. Austin Eckler was the leading rusher. I expect him to be the leading rusher on this team. All those Brian Robinson fantasy drafters, big mistake. I'm just speaking the truth here. I was very impressed with the offense of the Buccaneers. That's really it. I mean, Baker Mayfield was the answer, and he might be the answer for this Buccaneers team. I think they win the division. I never would have thought that because of Atlanta when Atlanta did. This team is the best team right now in the division.
Yeah, and they improved their offensive line. They definitely showed that. Now, granted, Washington's defensive line's not overly good either, but they still have a couple good defensive tackles. And the Buccaneers, that was their question mark last year, and they were able to make it work. Now the skill players, too, are very deep as well. In addition to Evans and Godwin, Jalen McMillan, as a rookie, played very well in that game, too. I believe he got open on more than half of his routes that he was on, and he got a big snap count. Cade Otton played very well, too. Rashad White, his efficiency's got to get a little better, but still has been a good overall well-rounded scrimmage back that they need. And like you said, that defense did a very good job on Terry McLaurin and did a good job rushing.
How about Bucky? Good old Bucky. Bucky Irving. 9 carries for 62 yards. What a name. Bucky likes to sucky. DeShaun Watson.
He was my sleeper in a lot of drafts, Bucky, this year. I don't trust Rashad in the run game. I think he's just going to be just a pass catcher eventually.
Bucky likes to sucky. Your thoughts?
Yeah, considering I was a Baker Mayfield hater about a couple years ago, I can't really hate too much on this right here. I mean, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's definitely clear that Baker Mayfield has connected well with this team. He has great chemistry, and I gotta agree with what you just said, Errol, just now. After what the Falcons did, I honestly thought that they were going to be a runaway for the division, but right now it's obvious that the Buccaneers are clearly leading that pack. And I have to say, I thought Jaden Daniels played pretty good for him being a rookie QB. Yeah, he probably should have thrown a little bit more, but I thought for his first game as a rookie, I thought he played pretty solid. So,
and he's got a good offensive corner. I think Kingsbury will figure it out with him. I think they made the right choice of bringing Kingsbury in. And he's going to probably get a coaching job at the end of the season because he's a good offensive mind. Say whatever you want. He might not be a good head coach. He's a good offensive mind. I think the game of the week was the LA Rams and the Lions. This was a fun game to watch. It really was. And say whatever you want. Jared Goff didn't have one of his best games, but when he needed to make the throws, he made the throws. What's really bothers me is Nacua going out the way he did. Puka Nacua going out with 1 carry and 7 yards. It's a shame. He's going to be out 4 weeks. Obviously, the leg injury. He was dealing with the leg injury before the season. But the guy that really stood out, and I'll say it, Cooper Kupp, baby. He was doing it, and I thought he was, and that's why I drafted him in the Beavs League. 14 receptions, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. He's back, baby. And I'm going to tell you this right now. The Lions, as much as they won the game, what stood out to me is the Rams can compete with them. The Rams can compete with anybody. Don't be surprised if the Rams compete with San Francisco to win that division this year. They're real. I think this is a young defense. They put pressure in the second half. The Rams. And by the way, what happened to Ahmad St. Brown? What happened to him? I mean, he didn't. And I'm saying this right now. St. Brown is everybody's Ross St. Brown. 3 receptions, 13 yards. It says a lot about the Rams secondary. They're actually pretty damn good, shutting him down the way they did. I was very impressed with even though the Rams did not win the game, I was more impressed with the Rams losing the game and playing the way they did than the Lions winning. So, just my opinion.
Yep, this was my pick for the NFC Championship game, and it showed every bit of it. It showed. And the Rams, I've always said this pattern since McVay's taken over. When they bring in new defensive coaches, they don't miss a beat. Like, whatever new scheme, whatever new concepts they bring in. Chris Shula, Don Shula's grandson, did a great job coaching in that game. They brought in 2 new linebackers after training Ernest Jones. They did a great job against the Laporta. They had a great game plan for St. Brown. Give credit to them rebirthing Tre'Davious White. He had a great game in that one after
So did Williams. I'm not going to. Jameson Williams actually had his best game as a pro. Second best game as a pro. So.
Sure. But like he was really the only one. Dave Montgomery had a great overtime find. But the Rams did a lot of good things very well in that game. Their offensive line held their own. And Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp had a fantastic game.
When Nacua comes back, they're scary. I mean, when they were both on the field, they were scary. And it looked like Matthew Stafford was just, who do I want to throw to? Who do I need to throw to?
Yeah.
Who do I want to run the ball to? It looked pretty easy. If Matthew Stafford stays healthy and Nacua comes back healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams go to the NFC title, maybe even the Super Bowl. This is an explosive of a team we've seen. I think they're fun to watch. I was very impressed with the Rams than the Lions winning at home. That's just my opinion.
And the Lions offensive line did hold their own, and they were able to stop the run. Rams were not able to get anything going, but the Lions were doing the same thing a lot of this last year. Let one guy go off, and then after that, make a difference. Yes, very impressive catching the bug. But the Lions got their physical grind.
Don't believe me? Stay away from me, bugs. I will kill you.
Yes. The Lions got their physical grind going in the fourth quarter.
I would.
David Montgomery.
You can take a picture of that.
David Montgomery did exactly what you did to
want a
that bug
picture
in
of that?
overtime. Just broke a lot of tackles and just dominated overtime.
Here, this is for all the fans. I wasn't
Yeah,
lying. I killed Mr. Buggy.
Jamison Williams really flies around the football field. You know, he bugs all the defenders trying to cover him, and he just, you know, it's like he just darts and buzzes the flat. You know, they try to buzz the flat on him. They can't do any of those things. He's just so quick. I don't know. I'm out of bug analogies.
No, that was good.
There,
You got
fellas.
4 of them in.
I'm bugging
I
out,
tried.
baby. I'm bugging out.
That was good.
I worry about Nakua. He fell in the draft farther than people thought because of injury worries about him. Look, an MCL in the knee, you can come back in a month and be okay. Let's just hope that, because he's a special talent that, you know, is one of those guys that was one of those diamond in a rough finds for the Rams. They can pair him with Kupp for the next bunch of years and be lethal with Stafford there the last few years of his career. It just is such a beautiful setup. Really a great football game, unlike the games that we were forced to watch in New York. And I wanted to remind you of one other thing, that in New York, there's Brian Daboll, which is very angry, outgoing expression type of a coach. A lot of hatred, towards Wink, even though Wink got blasted as a college coach this past weekend. I'm sure Giants fans weren't too unhappy to see that. But on the other side, you have a very peaceful demeanor on the sideline, almost Jason Garrett clapping-esque, from the great Bambi Sala.
Oh, please. Please. Oh, my God.
Aaron will probably fire Salah and hire Jason Garrett as a head coach.
I would. I think Jason Garrett would have put up better numbers than Robert Saleh in week 1. Oh, my God. Oh.
Good for me or good for you?
Good for both of us.
It's good for both.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Speedy, are you thinking?
I don't know.
Are you thinking of anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of
shut the damn music. How
Your
about that?
optimism for Jason Garrett as coach.
I'm
when you
losing my
thought
mind
he was
here.
going to coach the Jaguars 5 years ago.
No, I did. I mean, they did make the right choice with Doug Peterson, but how long does he have over there in Jacksonville? They better make the playoffs this year. Shut the music.
Well, yeah, they're still run by Trent Baalke, which isn't exactly a good move either.
I'm a little lost, but hey, ownership likes to open up their pockets, right?
Yeah,
Jason Garrett got paid, like, what do you think, about $70 million over a decade and a half, just like standing on the side going, oh, great job. Oh, yep. Just like making these movements, giving some like monotone speeches and drawing some plays up that weren't going to work when it really mattered. What a wonderful career.
We always have our moment in history. The Jason Garrett, the only coach ever to ice his own kicker and cause him to miss.
I need some ice cream. I'm a little hungry. I want an ice cream sandwich. I think I'm going to head off to 7-Eleven after the show. Well, I need some ice cream. I need some sugar, Speedy. Some sugar, some milk.
Okay.
You like milk?
It's fine.
Yeah. 3 years. The elder of it, right?
I don't drink a lot of milk.
Anyways, great show. And for all the fans out there that haven't checked out our website or doesn't even know who we are tuning in right now, guys, go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And guess what? If you're a StubHub fan or you're a Fanatic fan, you get deals. If you go to Fanatic, you get 20 to 25% off of anything you go through on our link on our website. You hit the link, you can get hats, you can get shirts, you can get anything you want. And by the way, we're going to have merchandise very soon for the Sports Loudmouth. Speedy has got one of our hats on. It's beautiful. Purple rim, Speedy's favorite color. Why not get a hat? By the way, we'll send you one fish, and you too. Well, we'll get you one as well. I mean, we're going to have all different colors, all different hats. And guys, you'll have the opportunity to get some merchandise on our website. And by the way, if you're a StubHub fan, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to StubHub and you hit the link on the StubHub. If you like concert, you like games, you'll get a percentage off of any game that you want to go to or any concert you want by going through our link. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a StubHub guy, I'm a StubHub guy. I like to buy some tickets and, other things, and hopefully, no freebies, if you know what I mean. DeShaun Watson, stay out of there. But I just if you want StubHub, you go to StubHub on our link and you get a percentage off any game, any concert, anywhere. Go on to StubHub by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. and go check us out. And by the way, we will be live tomorrow. We usually do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we're going to be moving Monday to Wednesday in the next couple of weeks. But tomorrow we will be back tomorrow around the same time between 7 and 7:30 doing a show. Who do we have on the show tomorrow, Speed?
All right. Well, we had a Chiefs guest on today. Tomorrow we have a guest that does not like the Chiefs very much. 8:30, our friend Mr. Stuart Schweigert will be back on the show.
Oh,
former Raiders and Lions safety. Very fiery guy. I don't think either of you two have seen.
He's going to bug out.
He is a very crazy personality. He has his own show as well. So 8:30 he'll be on, and then
Call me the Fly Man.
And then at 9 o'clock, returning the show, he was on once last year. I think Scoops, you saw him on Team USA baseball assistant coach.
I didn't want to kill him, but he's in the studio. He's flying all over me. I mean, how could I what am I going to let him? I know people probably hating me. I killed the bug, but I don't usually kill them. I keep them alive. I like bugs, but just flying in my face, you can't do that. I'm like, wax on, wax off. You give me one of those chopsticks, I might do that too, Speedy. You like chopsticks, right?
They're okay. 9 o'clock. I figured. 9 o'clock. The Team USA assistant coach. He does the 15U team. Butch Chafin will be returning to the show. Fish, I don't think you've experienced with him on. A great baseball mind. He does. He did the 18U team last year, and he's a big Yankee fan as well. So,
and we'll go through our picks tomorrow. We'll talk about the games for week number 2. Could you imagine week number 2? It's going to go. Ooh, look at that, Speedy. Eat your heart out. You look good.
I'm good.
You don't like. You like
I
sushi.
eat my own heart.
It's evolution.
It is evolution. Life is evolution.
If you eat your own heart, you'll die.
God
That's
is
very basic
the evolution of the world. What did he say over there? I didn't hear what he said. Well, life is basic. I mean, we're alive right now, Speedy, and I could just drop dead right now on the live mic.
Well, if you
what would you do if I just fell over?
I'll call 911 like any sane human being.
I'm going to trust the medical profession.
Why don't you call 911 for this guy over here? He needs to be, woken up. What would you do?
No, I would rush him to the hospital.
Would you give him mouth to mouth? You could save the bug. I mean, he's been dead for a little bit.
You killed him. You saved him. Maybe you shouldn't have killed him in the first place if you cared so much.
So you want him to fly in my face the whole show like he was doing and pissing me off? I mean, that's what he was doing. He was tempting me.
All right,
to
then
kill him.
don't regret it now. You made your decision. Stand by it.
I made my decision killing a bug. Oh, man, Speedy, you are an interesting fella. Say hello to everybody. Wave. Wave. Could you wave? God damn it. There you go. There you go. I like that. All right, give him the shocker.
No, that's for tomorrow when Wes is on.
Well, I just want to see this.
No, that's only for Wes. Only for Wes.
I mean,
only for Wes.
For all the women out there.
Only for Wes. They can listen to him. Let's parlay tomorrow.
Thank you for not shocking me. Anyways, thank you, obviously, to our first guest and founder of the Big League Approach, Jason Michaels, for joining us. Also, thank you to ex-11-year NFL tight end, Kentucky State assistant coach, Jason Dunn, for the first time. Both guys for the first time on our show. We were very happy to have both of them on our show. Thank you to all the fans, all the new fans, all the people that listen to us and tune in every single week. Remember, Bambi Saleh can't do it on his own. Well, maybe he can, or maybe he just shouldn't. Hopefully the Jets figure that out, and hopefully Aaron Rodgers figures that out too, because he's definitely the skunk of the movie. Garrett Wilson looks like he's the rabbit. Speedy. Who would you rather the rabbit? I would think that Aaron Rodgers is the rabbit, and Garrett Wilson is the skunk because he looked like he smelt a little bit. Anyways, or maybe Sauce Gardner's was a skunk. That was Speedy, by the way. Anyways, we will be back tomorrow as all. Well, it's not as always, but for the first time, or maybe for the couple of times we've been on a Wednesday, tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and you get a chance to hear us again. And we will get into all the sports, as not just football, but all the sports, as the Yankees lose tonight 5-0. So thank you to the Yankees for making me throw up. And we will be back tomorrow. Good night.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.